Hello?
Hello, 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 hello.
Anything going on?
Not much. It's been pretty much a down week. We've all just been kind of hanging out, but it's nice to get together. Oh yeah, that's right.
Came out.
Everybody, welcome to our discussion of the Duskmorn pre-release weekend. That is all we'll be discussing tonight.
I went 3-0 and outperformed Jake, and that's all that matters.
That's right. Travis, with that that undefeated, but you lost to, I guess, what, like tiebreakers or something?
Yeah, it was just the head-to-head, our opponent win percentage or whatever.
Fair enough. Yeah, but I mean, undefeated, nothing to shake a stick at. That was really fun.
Chat, we're not here to talk about pre-release tonight, but we are here to talk, and we brought guests. Below me are...
I will not. Oh, below you. Oh, I understand.
Below me, Travis, is joining us tonight on stream, Mr. Travis Gafford of Travis Gafford Industries. The show Hotline League, you might recognize it if you know what League is. I'm still trying to learn. Travis, thank you for being here tonight.
Hello. A newly minted Magic the Gathering content creator.
Newly minted.
All it took was this drama for me to upload a random video of me talking to the camera and then get 9,000 views.
This is awesome.
Yeah.
You will
forever,
you'll forever have a channel success story tied to Jewled Lotus. And so we are the same now in that regard.
Yeah.
For what it's worth, you had some really good takes in that video. So
she's joining me, as well as Crypt, my two favorite artists.
Love to see him. Love to see him there. We're also joined by producer and mod on the channel, also own YouTube channel called MTG Metrics. Spec, the numbers guy. How are you tonight? By the way, Jake. Yeah. Oh, I see. Yeah. Spec, what's up?
Spectre's muted.
Spec, I think you're muted, buddy. Spectre's muted. Spectre's joining us tonight via our typical tech difficulties channel. Welcome
he
in.
Is left speechless by the bans that were announced this week.
It is just
it's been multiple days, and he still cannot fathom a single word.
Tongue-tied.
All he can do is mess up the overlay for.
Oh, I got hotkeys, baby. I got hotkeys on hotkeys, ladies and gentlemen. When we get Spec back, we are going to be discussing tonight the topic that's on everyone's minds.
Yeah.
When should you buy mana crypts as they descend? No. What is going on with these bans? Y'all have seen our coverage at length. Jake and I have talked about this at length now. I think Jake would agree with me when we say we're a bit weary of the topic, but I think it's important here tonight to sort of just round everybody up, talk about it all together, see what's going on, and then maybe move on. And maybe we move on together.
Well, I think it really comes down to, for me, you know, I'll just say this about the bans, and then I know we're going to get into it a lot more. Just so long as it's not a regular thing, and from everything we've seen recently, there's no intention to just be like, all right, well, that was great. Let's run it back in 6 months and let's do it again. I think with a big ban like this, you kind of have to let things settle out and then just see where it goes. Travis, you had a really good take on it where you were saying that it just needs to be better communication and you need somebody who can actually come out and speak to the people. And I really agree with you on that. It can't just be like an entity that comes in a text document and does something and then poof, they're gone back into the sky like a god. And I really do. I really like that take. And I know we're going to dig in, but that's just kind of where I'm at on this, is as long as they don't do it all the time.
All right. Maybe
kind of have to let it settle out.
Spec, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Is this? I know the mic is worse, but at least it works. So I guess
no, we can hear you.
We can hear you. Welcome. Everybody wave. Say hey to Spec. What's up?
Hey everyone. Good to see you, chat.
Yeah, so Trav, Jake was talking about your take that the one of the pieces of this that is highly missing is that communication piece.
Yeah, so I don't know if we want to. I know you guys usually tend to play games and stuff in the beginning, so I don't know if we're just diving straight into the topic within the first couple of minutes. But I'm happy to give sort of the rundown on what my video is. The too long didn't watch, if that's what we're. If we are diving into it, or if we want to wait a little bit.
I mean, we have a lot of people here that I'm sure want to talk about it. If we want to maybe do games at like a midpoint, we can. I'm down to just jump in. I think we can cover sponsors later and all that stuff. So Joel, unless you have any reservations, I think we just get right into it and start talking about all this stuff. I will say this, we did have brand new spanking news that we're going to talk about that happened right before the stream. I did see, you know, like some pretty important info come out, and like, I think we should talk about that, but I think we can just kind of feel it out organically and get there when we get there.
Yeah.
Yes, to answer your question, yes, that's completely fine.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, so for me, so for those of you who are not familiar with me, I do League of Legends esports coverage. I've been on the show a couple other times previously, but I know there's a lot of people that are watching probably tonight that are not normally watching, because you guys are getting the experience that I get in League every time some crazy roster change happens or some drama goes down, which is you just get this big spike in viewership, which is always really fun, but then you wish that it was happening on a more chill week where you don't have to talk about drama and everything isn't so, tensions are not so high. But I also started a Magic the Gathering channel recently. I only have like 4 vids on it, but one of them that I have up is about this. And my take, I have a lot of opinions about other parts that I'm sure we'll get into over the course of the show. But the thing that I thought, I was like, where can my contribution to this conversation be, was talking about literally communication. Because I cover League of Legends esports, developers are constantly making balance changes. There are really controversial things that happen all the time in esports because you have to drop a player, you have to sign somebody, you have to change the format. And the thing that I've found that works the best is when you see over communication almost from whoever's making the decision. And I think if you consider the fact that the rules committee is acting basically like game designers, I think a lot of people have a lot of opinions about how closely linked they are to Wizards or not, but in one way or another, Commander is being co-designed by two different parties. Wizards of the Coast, who's printing the cards, and then the RC, who's deciding what the rules are around the format and what the bans and stuff are. And so I think anytime you are going to make a controversial design decision that impacts the existing metagame, you need to come out and like do a big video about it. You need to come out and explain why you're doing this, what the methodology is, what your design philosophy is, and how this links into it. And I think that while they did address some of it in that initial blog post, I feel like it's not a bad idea for them to, one, have a spokesperson going forward who can come out and kind of do that. I think Jim has done some of that work in the last 48 hours. But I also think in general, if you people I think would be, not everyone, but I think there'd be a little less drama right now if they had been a little more effective in their communications around the issue, which I think they've acknowledged since then.
I completely agree with you. The thing that astounded me over the first 24 hours was hearing it from them, hearing little to no follow-up in any place that was easily found, but seeing lots of screenshots just start pouring out of their Discord of stuff taken. Inevitably, it has to be taken out of context because it's just one cap of a single, text box. And then you start getting CAG members saying, I don't know what's going on. And then you've got this like round robin of trying to piece together the full story from it. And that's what I felt like I was doing the first 24 hours was just like going around and trying to connect the dots and figure out what was going on. Real quick, before we jump too far into this, hang on.
Screenshot.
Couple of housekeeping things. We just jumped right in. I've got a lot of storms in my area tonight, just as a warning to everyone watching it. These storms are pretty crazy, and if the power goes out, I know it's on its way. Well, the hurricane's not till Thursday. But we've got thunderstorms right now. So if we lose power, we're not gonna come back. There's just not a good way with YouTube to like reconnect to that same stream. So unfortunately, if the storm takes out the stream, that'll just be it. Just want to give that as a heads up. Also, Jake and I are brought to you by our wonderful sponsors that we'll get into later. Thanks to Card Conduit for sponsoring the channel. Best place to sell your cards online. TCG Player, best place to buy them. Drip Shop, where you can find us live with tons of giveaways, lots of stuff to buy, auction off over there. Use our link in the description. Get some free credit when you sign up. Moxfield for your deck lists. MTG stocks for the card prices over time. And obviously, Dragon Shield to protect your sleeves. Okay. Housekeeping stuff out of the way.
TCG Player has a great sale going on right now.
Do we want to segment this?
Well,
yeah, my effort in this piece of putting out a video was saying don't buy this, which was to no avail. Thousands of people have bought Dockside since yesterday, unfortunately.
I think this is where we should start.
Prices.
Jake and I released a video late last night and kind of gave our more tempered thoughts. Our first video intentionally was our raw emotion reaction because we did have a raw emotion reaction. Last night we released that video after, talking through and being like, all right, let's level-headed this. Let's walk back anything we want to walk back, double down on the things we want to do that with. And then said, if there's no new news, we won't talk about this anymore. Knew we were going to have a live stream because we wanted to kind of roundtable it, give everybody an opportunity, talk to chat, and then sort of maybe put this behind us. But Jake, Josh Lee Kwai just resigned from the Commander Advisory Group, like literally before the stream started.
Yeah, just moments ago. I have my thoughts on this.
What's your opening take on that?
Well,
do we need our tinfoil hats or no?
Sure. If we're going to call it the JLK assassination, then yes. But no, I do have some thoughts on it, which are that Josh, essentially, the moment this happens, we get a tweet, the bans, we get a tweet from Josh saying, whoa, I'm just as blindsided as everybody else. And then 2 days later, he's resigning from this. My thought is that he's not just going to say, holy cow, I didn't know about this either. And then 2 days later be like, yeah, that was going to be my last tweet. Now I'm done with that. I think because, and this is just my tinfoil hat theory, I do think that because that's a huge channel, people look to that channel to be a voice of reason. You know, they're like beacons in the community, just in my opinion. And I think when people were looking to them for a take, and Josh is like, whoa, look, everybody, I'm on your side. I had no idea this was happening. I don't like these bans. They were like, all right, look, guy, you're making the CAG look like student council, like it's just an honor to be here, and the entity has no real use. And so you get videos like the video that Joel and I put out asking the question, well, what is the point of the CAG if they're not advising on these big, huge, like momentous, you know, choices? It just makes me think that, you know, with him stepping down, you know, people looking to him for perspective, and then, you know, why does the group exist? Yeah, I think they needed like a fall guy, and they're like, yeah, you're out. And now it's supposed to be kind of like the people are like, all right. Now, I know that there's other takes on that. That's literally Jake's opinion.
I'm just clearing it up. You're saying that you think he was maybe elbowed out because he didn't immediately go, dude, RC is
why are
shit.
You not? Yeah, like him not like backing them and being like, hey guys, you know, the rules committee has to make a lot of tough choices and let's stand behind them on this. Instead, he was on the side of the people that are like, holy shit, we just got bamboozled. We just got fleeced. We lost a ton of money in cardboard. And then they're like, what about you, JLK? And he's like, me too.
And so I don't like the bands. Like, well, he immediately was saying he didn't like the bands either. You know, so he was saying
so
that.
It makes me think that they're like, look, if you're not going to support us after all of the support we've given you, being whatever the powers that be, then they're like, you're just out. Just like be done. You can keep your channel, all that shit, obviously. Yeah. But we're just not going to have you on this advisory group.
Lord Pepsi's got 2 super chats there. Lord Pepsi, I want to address them both because we got thoughts on both of those. I want to jump to Spec though. Spec, JLK dropping, and Jake saying maybe he got elbowed out. What do you think the reason is?
I think all of that is incorrect. I think, based on what I've read, so this could be, who knows, right? Like, I certainly don't know. He hasn't said specifically why, right? So speculation.
Yeah, his announcement was very like, I ain't on it. Thanks just, everybody, peace.
And that's it, right? So speculation wise, like, because we knew years ago he did not like the design of Jewled Lotus, told WotC not to print the card, right? So it's not like he was a fan of the card. What I think happened, based on some other stuff that he mentioned, was that his real connection to the RC was through Sheldon.
Yeah.
And he thought that relationship was a lot closer than clearly is, because he thought he may have deserved to know that this was going down. He didn't. He was not informed, obviously, to the level that he thought he should be. And so when all of this went down, he said, okay, I'm done. That's it. You don't want to include me in these decisions. I don't need to be included. I'm out.
Travis, what do you think?
So I want to make sure that we all know, because I think in these emotional moments, we all go on shows and have conversations about this and speculate.
Sure.
And then people go online and sort of take that banner up and are like, this is totally what happened.
100%.
So this is all pure speculation because none of us have talked to JLK.
Yeah.
My guess is that, it is, I'm a little bit closer to Spec in terms of this. I think that it was certainly, I would be very surprised if the rules committee right now, who needs public support and public wins, would force out one of the most prominent members of the CAG. I also think that he's not the only person who has voiced public dissent with the decision. I watched Rebel's video, which I would highly recommend everyone go watch. I think she did a really great job of talking about some of the, I think she did what I wish the rules committee had done, which was have a conversation about the balance and design of these cards and why it made sense to ban some of them and why she disagreed with others. But JLK is not the only one who's voiced public dissent from that group on this stuff. We don't know what the specific situation is, so I don't want to speculate too much on what my theory would be, but other than to say, like, yeah, I think he probably did feel a bit of a disconnect. And going back to the communication stuff that I talked about, again, if I was advising the rules committee on how to do this all differently, if I could go back in time and be like, here's what you do differently, I'd say release the post in the afternoon, and in the morning you're hosting a roundtable discussion with your CAG, and you are going through all the different reasons why you did this, and you're giving them enough time to go make content about it.
Yes.
Because so that they can decide what their opinions are, and they can accurately convey what your stances are. So they could say, like, here's why the rules committee did this, here's XYZ reason why I agree or disagree, and then it comes across as a much more tempered conversation. That is usually what you do in these situations if you're trying to release big information and you know there's going to be a bunch of reporters or content creators talking about it, is you try to get as much information to them as possible so that at least there's not misinformation, because they had to release that FAQ, which I'm sure we can talk about later.
Yeah.
And you end up with a lot of people who feel burned, you know, and I don't know if that's what happened with LK, but I can understand why.
I think that just putting myself in his shoes on a very simple level, speaking as him, I had nothing to do with this. I don't even like the decision. My DMs are full of death threats, and I don't want to be in the middle of this anymore because I'm not going to be consulted in the future. That's clear. This is their biggest decision ever, maybe one of the biggest decisions they'll ever make. And he wasn't touched, so why would they ever consult him? And so if I'm not going to be consulted and I have to deal with the fallout, I'm distancing myself. There's no reason. He even said, and this isn't speculation, his role on the CAG was essentially answering some email surveys every now and then. That seems like a very poor use of having an advisory group, which just takes me back to my point from the last video we made, which was, I don't understand why it even exists. You could do a survey to all of us. We could do email surveys as a community and give you more perspectives. We're going to do that with a group of like 7 or 10 people. Why not just talk to them? I'm sure they get 1,000 different perspectives every day. Jake and I do. All of y'all do. Every one of us does. The comments are just filled with them. We can tell you any angle on it. So why have it? I don't know. But yeah, I think that he was just like, I don't want to deal with it. This is too much.
Yeah, I mean, I can totally see that perspective. I could see where you guys are coming from with that.
I think there's maybe an in-between too, Jake, of like, you know, maybe one of them did reach out, disagree, complete speculation. This is my opinion. Maybe one of them reached out and was like, man, what the hell? And he was like, all right, well, I definitely don't need it from y'all because y'all caused this. Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. But he just, in his statement, all we know for a fact is he just said, I'm resigning effective immediately. I want to thank everybody. I wish all y'all the best. Peace out. That was that.
Yeah.
That was that. So interesting that we are still having developments from this. But the biggest one, Jake, I think that got answered from our video was the FAQ that got dropped last night. Basically, as I was editing our opinions, some of the questions were being answered, but you know, that's the nature of ongoing news cycle breaking coverage. The biggest thing in the FAQ that was different from what I thought was that they said definitively, we're not walking this back. They asked the question, they answered the question. So let's talk about possibility of walking back. Is that even on the table? Is there a world where the pressure gets there? And what do you think it would be? Jake, what do you think?
No, I don't think they're going to walk it back based on what I read, because then the financial implications are way worse.
Yeah, so what does that mean?
All these cards.
Like
what do you mean? What does what mean?
Like they're selling. I saw that in their write-up that the financial implications will be even worse if we walk it back at this point.
Oh yeah, because then you have all these people that sold their cards and they feel like, wow, I was made to believe these cards aren't legal, so I dumped them. And then they're like, well, all right, we feel your anger, you can buy all your cards back. And then they're like, well, great, I sold a freaking card at $100 and now I'm buying it back at $150. So yeah, it would just make them look even, and also it would honestly undermine the integrity of the group even more, right?
Yep.
Because then
100%.
you have the group, people wondering, well, what the hell, guys? Like you're so on the fence,
next
you can't even
time-
make a decision and stick with it. So
The
it's
next
like
time they
it's
release
way
another
worse.
ban, people are gonna be like, "Oh no, we don't like this ban. You have to undo this one too."
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
And they're gonna be like, oh, walking it back, walking it back.
yeah, like you just can't.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I did see like people saying, like sell your mana vaults now and like get rid of this, get rid of your ancient tombs, because it's like if they're sticking with it, then maybe they are after fast mana. I don't know.
You see them spike though.
Yeah, those are
I'm sorry?
spiking because people are speculating that is
They're massively
going to be
spiking.
the replacement.
Yeah.
Yeah, you need the vault now, and
That
yeah.
is what is so funny to me,
P-
guys, about this is that people go
PS
out there and they go, "Oh, now the value of everything is going to go down, and everyone's going to sell their collections, and everything's going to go bad." And all that has happened is that you took the value that was in, now obviously not directly for the people who were there, unfortunately, but you took the value that was here and you just shifted it over into another card. Like, it's so
If
funny.
there was a huge lack of confidence in Commander or the RC, you wouldn't see that. We'd be seeing mass sell-offs of all the pieces that people think could get hit. And just PSA to everyone that's trying to buy a vault right now, it is not the same as Crypt. A 0-mana rock is light years different from a 1-mana rock, especially if you're playing CDH. Just understand the difference. These do very different. Like, it's a good thing, but
you
understand
really have to
it's
put a lot of
way different.
resources into untapping it as well, which is a whole other.
Yeah.
bag
While
of
we're
worms.
on-
yeah,
Expensive cards maybe also being banned. Jake, you were mentioning, do they go after fast mana? People are asking about Ancient Tomb.
yeah. Do they go after Mox Diamond, LED,
Right.
Chrome Mox?
Their
that kind
answer
of stuff.
is, are other expensive cards safe from being banned? Yes, but not absolutely beyond reproach. We're not going to paint ourselves into a corner and say that we'll never ban expensive cards, which I think is smart, but we can say categorically that we do not want to ban cards. That's interesting that staples are part of Commander. The card pool is incredibly large, and that we will try to keep the format stable going forward unless those cards are causing large problems. Now,
I think it falls on the community. So what this means is we need to run more interaction. We need to have better communication.
yes, I think
Run stuff that destroys things that bother you at the table.
Right.
Don't be like, oh, I'm so mad you're doing this thing, but I refuse to put in removal to deal with it. From
This-
a game
Armageddon
standpoint,
to
right?
all of my decks now. Thank you.
this part
Oh,
is
we get. I already have that.
this part is rough for me to try and like wrap my head around, because the Jewled Lotus thing. Chat, speak up on this one. The Jewled Lotus thing. Anecdotally, have you, playing only with strangers, and please be honest, playing only with strangers, the situation that the RC is trying to protect, have you run into a Jewled Lotus that just took the game completely over, blew it out right from the beginning, and that completely ruined it? Let's go.
Yes.
Let's go Travis first.
Oh yeah, I mean I was the one that did it. I have multiple. I had one in my Shielder deck and also one in my Sulfum deck. I ran them in my monocolored decks, and being able to get those things out so quickly, it's really difficult for people to be able to like get to the interaction that they need to like stop or slow down the stuff. I'm not saying that that it happens every single time.
Yeah, Turgid.
But the foundation of Magic is sort of this idea of like, okay, we're all on turn 1. Okay, we're all on turn 2. You have to have some sort of significant disadvantage, right? Like you're taking turn 2 off when you're playing an Arcane Signet in order to get to turn 4 on turn 3. And so whenever you get to do that for essentially free, for just the cost of a card from your hand, which we know how easy it is for Magic players to pitch a card from their hand in order to do something for free. Like I understand, like I have no problem with the design of, or with the decision on this stuff. I will say, by the way, sorry, just as a tangent, because I've seen it multiple times in your YouTube chat. It is so funny to me because I saw this also comments my thing. I don't know if you guys have noticed this yet. There is a like counter clapback because Amisha, JOK ran a tweet or a poll that was like, are you okay with this? Yes or no? And it ended up being 50-50 after 24 hours.
Yeah.
And there's now this like counter movement against where all these people who are frustrated with all the complaining, who probably were fine with it, are now clapping back. And so there's been multiple comments in the chat that are like, oh, this just sounds like whitey babies lost, sad that they're losing money from their video or from their physical game or whatever. And I'm like, it's so funny because I think Spec and I are actually fine with the bans, and you guys are the ones that are unhappy. So we have like a 50-50 poll right here on the show of this. And so the show is not all just everybody complaining about this. I saw even in the comments of my YouTube video where people assume, they're like, I'm not watching this. You said you don't play these cards. I'm sad about your stock valuation dropping.
It's very tough because it's such a complex bag, right? It's not black and white. It's very muddy. It's super gray and
colorless.
I see the perspective on both sides. I do want to say really quick, we missed a $5 super chat, and if you're still hanging out here watching, sorry that we missed that $5 super chat. It was a hot take. Our more commander advisory group members going to resign because of this? No idea. Impossible to tell, but we do appreciate that super chat. And also, Chad, if you're enjoying the stream, we have a lot more people here tonight than normal. If you are enjoying this, if you want to come back in the future, we do encourage you to subscribe. And if you can help us get to 69 likes, that would be great.
Hey, Lord Pepsi super chatted $2 and said, big predicament if CEDH breaks off and unbans all three. I think that it's unlikely they unban all three. I do think it's likely that they break off and unban some stuff. But the actual impact of that is yet to be seen. I don't see it being a big predicament. I'm watching right now some of the people that I respect the most in the CEDH community start to round up the wagons, so to speak, and approach it slowly, carefully. And so I double checked with some people behind the scenes earlier today and was like, all right, cool. Well, we're happy to throw our weight behind whatever. We aren't CDH people, but obviously we can help signal boost or something. And so I personally, to this point, and we can talk about CEDH breaking off, I guess now, I think that it would be good if CEDH did. I'm actually kind of hopeful for it. I think that Dockside should probably stay banned if they do it, but Mana Crypt and JLO should definitely come unbanned if they do it. And by the way, I want to clarify. I guess we should clarify, like, Travis, like, takes, like, everybody's basic position, I think would be helpful for everybody.
We were kind of getting into that whenever you asked about whether or not these things go, and then I derailed us. So
Travis with the $5 super chat. Everyone subscribe to MTG Metrics. Such a great channel. Woo! All
right, let's real fast. We will, Travis. Now that we're right here in the middle, let's
subscribe to MTG Metrics.
Reintroduce ourselves real fast. Shout out what you want to shout out, and also provide your basic take, very brief, on where we're at with the bans. We'll start with y'all, and then Jake and I can reiterate what our takes are now on day 3. Spec, we were just talking about MTG Metrics, and you have the biggest sub count. Rock and roll, get it going, son.
All right. Hey guys, I'm MTG Metrics, also Spec, I mod, do some other stuff. My take is that all the fast mana is cancer and should be removed from Commander, and they should just keep going and just delegitimize all the precons. No, that would be a logistical nightmare. Point being, gameplay, I understand and I agree with the bans. I think that playing off curve is what not only leads to poor games, but also exacerbates all the problems people have with cards like Rhystic Study and Smothering Ties. Those cards are manageable to deal with. They're not manageable to deal with on turn 1. You see it in CDH. The last major tournaments, the major go-to play was mull until I have turn 1 Rhystic, and then we play a 6-hour game. Like, no one wants to do that. The fast mana was the enabler that was causing all of those issues. Now, from a financial and investment collection standpoint, this is a super frig big and bummer for everyone that owns these cards or wanted these cards. They're huge chase cards. WotC props them up. They keep them at mythic unobtainium levels of craziness, specifically to drive as much money out of your wallet as possible. And that sucks. And they know it. And we'll get into, maybe when specifically they know it, but they definitely knew it for Festival in a Vox, and they absolutely tried to juice you of your nice earned cash. So that sucks.
So that's Travis. Hang on. Wait. I see you. We're going to do that later. We're sharing basic takes right now so that everybody knows where we're coming from.
My basic take is we should just get rid of the RC because this Wizards company sounds so nice.
Hang on, don't be sarcastic right now. People aren't going to know you're being sarcastic. You got to tell them what you actually think right now. Travis, go.
Yeah. Okay, so a couple things. One, when I first saw Jewled Lotus as a
I
card,
promise we're going to get to these super chats.
Yeah, we will.
Right
Thanks,
after
guys.
Travis.
Yeah,
Here.
we'll do a break to catch up on super chats. You guys are experiencing a thing where you just got slammed with all this support, which is always nice, but you can usually hit those all at once.
We will.
As I see Joel trying to figure out what the currency conversion is.
I don't know what IDR is. I'm Googling IDR. Give me a second.
It's like $10. It's like $10. We appreciate you.
I was just making sure.
You can tell by the yellow.
I didn't know if we were going to be able to go rebuy everybody Jewled Lotuses and Mana Crypts with this
Joel,
money.
All right, Travis. Thank you for your thoughts. Joel, what do you got?
IDR! IDR! Go, Travis.
All right. So the first time I saw Jewled Lotus, I was like, this card looks so fucking stupid. I can't believe that this card exists.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then I found out how much money it costs, and I was like, okay, that is why that card exists, because it is a card that you can say like, oh look, we've got Black Lotus in Commander, and they can make it really expensive and all that stuff. I think the art on both of the cards that I have both editions of it, are absolutely beautiful, and I do think it is really fun to play when you get to be the one that plays it. I think it is a design mistake that was put into a Commander product early on when they were first figuring out how Commander products can work for like draft and all that type of stuff, and what should be there. And so I do not have an issue with them banning it. I think that like a lot of games will probably be better. This is, by the way, speaking specifically to traditional Commander, not CEDH. The other thing I will say is like, I agree with Spec. I am bummed that I lost money on these cards, but I am of the opinion, and this is going to piss off a lot of people in the audience, that like no one has promised you that these cards will only ever gain in value. In fact, if anything, we have seen time and time again that cards will get reprinted, they'll get power crept, they will get turned into a better variant where the one that you look at before now looks like shit because this one like is sparkly and LED, and they've figured out how to do LED foils now or something like that. And so like, while I understand people are frustrated, I do not think people should feel as though they were deserved these cards to maintain their value.
Got it.
I see chat flying.
Yeah,
really
chat
fast
started
right now.
popping like crazy. I mean, you know where you're hanging out tonight, and that's no secret. But we are being respectful. Everyone's being respectful. We love everyone, how respectful everyone's being. We would hate our food time and our jank and our mods in there working their asses off to have to not pay attention tonight because y'all are being dicks. Travis, on that point, and I know this isn't the part to challenge.
It's just California boys.
We finally hit that level of a debate.
I want to address that. I've heard this a lot. It's not a guarantee that your cards will go up. It's only really guaranteed that your cards will go down. I agree with that sentiment. You've heard me and Jake talk about since the Booster Fun era started repeatedly. We have talked about how the whole game now is watching for highs, waiting for the reprint, buying low. That's the whole move now. It's pretty predictable, honestly, from set to set. And that word right there is my problem. Predictable. It's predictable. We know how WotC operates in general. We know what the rules basically are and where the fences and guidelines are. This happened on a Monday for no fucking reason, was not predictable, no warning whatsoever, and wiped out millions in inventory through a process that was incomplete. And that's proven now. That's not my speculation. This process was incomplete. They admitted it in the top of their FAQ. Why didn't you, let me read the actual thing. Why didn't you give advance notice of this change? They replied, we'll own this one. This could have been much better. And then they talk about how they've had advance notice before and it didn't work, so they eliminated it. But all I'm saying, my point to just that one sentiment that cards aren't guaranteed, cards aren't investments. I can't believe how many times that's been yelled at me over the past 48 hours. Cards aren't investments. Sure, we get it. But there is some predictability to how WotC operates. And the fact that a third party can come in and just knock over the whole tower of blocks for little, and I'm not going to say for little no reason. I'm going to say through an incomplete process is baffling to me. So
should I buy or sell my One Ring right now?
Should you buy or sell your One Ring?
Predictable. Should I buy or sell my one? Should I buy One Rings or should I sell it?
That's up to you. We can talk about all the necessary information.
That's my point. Is
yeah,
like, it is up to you. These things always happen randomly. Like you don't know.
Randomly is a really strong word here, Travis.
Go up or down.
But we know that it's under review, and so we have information that we can do with what we want. We had no opportunity here. We didn't have a single warning.
Do we know it's under review?
Yes,
we do.
They said it in their last modern ban update.
I think they've said they're looking at it, but I don't know. Like,
right.
Oh, we're gonna go semantics looking at it under review.
Before we derail completely.
Anyway,
Jake owns his stance.
Joel, did you already give your stance?
No, sorry, I did try to derail the stream there with a rebuttal there to Travis. My basic stance,
just because there are so many chat messages coming in.
Yes, my basic stance is this: from a gameplay standpoint, I really think that overall these were good bans and made for the right reasons. We can go card by card. Nadu, I don't care about. Mana Crypt, sure. I think that could have been a good one just to do and be like, hey, this is the signal. Jewled Lotus is overkill. And then what was even the other card? My brain is
Dockside.
Oh, Dockside. And then Dockside deserved it. Dockside deserved it. If you wanted a sacrificial lamb, Mana Crypt was a better choice in my opinion. And then Jewled Lotus was asinine and should have just absolutely not ever happened. But I do believe in the overall thought process that they intended to go on and what they were trying to do, because I believe that the rules committee doesn't exist for any of us, anybody in chat, unless we're sitting down with people to play Commander that we don't know. That's the only people that the RC is for, in my opinion. And so
that's fair.
They have fulfilled that. Because at the end of the day,
if you and your three other friends, or however many friends you have, all have Jeweled Lotuses, this changes nothing for you.
Exactly, right. But the rules committee exists for the strangers, for the group of people to sit down and go, hey, really quickly, how do y'all want to play? And now we know there's not going to be blah, blah, there's not going to be blah, blah. Sure, I understand that. Really good choice for Dockside. However, for the collecting side, I think I've made it very clear just with my response to Travis, this is one of the most irresponsible things I've ever seen. And I had a lesser version opinion of that when this happened. It was just, this feels irresponsible. But now that I've seen that the process was wildly incomplete, I'm comfortable saying it was just super irresponsible and absolutely needs some sort of response.
Wildly incomplete. That makes it sound like they just
whoa. Let's get Jake's.
Oh yeah.
Let's get Jake's
their
stance
own
first.
words. Their own words. Incomplete. Their own words.
No, that's fine. If you guys want to talk through that moment, you guys can.
I want to hear Jake's. I want to hear Jake because Joel and I will go back and forth for 2 hours. So we need to.
Yeah. There's so many good messages in chat. I want you all to know we're seeing them and we're gonna get to the ones that we can. We do appreciate y'all so much hanging out. I want to get this message. Garino said. The problem is if I spend my hard-earned money on a card and less than a year later it gets banned, now I don't get to play the cards and I'm out of money. I think that's it. Like, I know that this isn't the exact way you intend this statement, but the way that I feel is kind of similar, especially because they were marquee cards that we've already talked about that were used to push expensive sets, and they are not that far out in memory. I mean, these are very recent sets. Lost Caverns of Ixalan was November, and then Commander Masters was very recently last year. Cards got big textured variants. You have a lot of these cards that all have every variant under the sun. It felt like, to me, that these were cards that were like, oh, they're just going to print them so many different ways because it's like, well, not only are they, extremely expensive cards, but they're foundational to the formats that they're, legal in. I just feel blindsided. There is part of me that, like I said, it's very gray because I also understand fast mana and I know what it's like to get blown out. I absolutely know what that's like. I do think that, yes, this was done for casual players that are going to a convention or are going to the local game store that want to sit down at the table. And like if 4 people are just hanging out by a table, they say, hey, you want to get a game? They have no idea who they are. Then that is leading to, I guess, in this instance, better games in some capacity. So I'm not going to say that I don't understand the bans. I just don't like them, and I don't like the way that it was executed and how it hurts consumer confidence, because I absolutely understand how people feel. They feel like they've been rug pulled. They feel like, especially because a lot of these sets were in such recent memory. And Joel, speaking to what you said about predictability, one thing that's predictable is like you can see like how these cards and like, oh, Mana Crypt's getting a reprint, it's probably going to get X amount of copies or X amount of versions, and you can really see how things operate. So like very small things like a Commander Masters pack and a Lost Caverns pack being in Festival in a Box, and then right after that sells out, you have this big announcement that's like, hey, these cards are actually banned, when full, like any collector would say, oh, was I incentivized to buy Festival in a Box because of these collector packs? Yes, and because Mana Crypt and Jewled Lotus are like top hits in those. And so if that, just in this one situation, if you were to push Festival in a Box after this, right? No one's going to be happy about that. No one's going to be like, yeah, I want to buy that Festival in a Box that comes with those 2 collector packs. So it feels bad. It just feels bad, even though the bans may be justified. And then the last thing I'll say is, if it is years before the next banning, I think that would be appropriate, because I think with a huge ban like this, you really don't want players to stop buying your products. You don't want players to be like, oh, okay, well, I'm going to play One Ring until the One Ring is banned, or until the One Ring is replaced by the Infinity Gauntlet, and then until the Infinity Gauntlet is replaced by the Buster Sword, and then so on. You can't have players that want to collect cool cards and then have them just like, oh yeah, thanks for buying the set. It's banned.
On that topic, Jake, I totally agree. People should feel frustrated about buying Festival in the Box. For me, I watched a video that calculated the value of these on a channel called MTG Metrics, and I felt completely blindsided by the Festival in a Box whenever this person told me.
Even if you pull the Masters pack out, it's still a good deal.
Yeah. No, here's the thing. I've been tracking. I mean, you guys can maybe I've been late on it, but like Commander Masters collectors are staying the same or only going up. They might have dipped a little bit. LCI
look,
there hasn't been a lot of move. I've been looking. There hasn't been a lot of volume movement, so we haven't seen price adjustments for that. I think people are still kind of wary about that. I have seen multiple Docksides and other cards purchased in the last day, 2 days.
Yeah, those are going down. I know, but
yeah,
I'm just
please, guys, stop buying them.
Yeah, for Festival in the Box, I like. Everybody wants to open one of these things and hope that they're getting the etched Jewled Lotus or whatever. But like, I feel like a lot of that product is still holding, and so I don't until look, if these things were tanking by 50%, then I would feel a lot more frustrated about having purchased it, because this was from a Festival in the Box.
No, yeah,
but like the value of the packs and the product is still staying the same. But it's just not as fun because the chase card's not there. But I do agree, Jake, that it does feel
one
really
of the
bad
chase cards.
Right.
Yeah, like Mana. Yeah, Crypt is still a great cube card, right? Like Crypt is not going to be a card that just like sucks. And yes, you can rule 0 it in if you guys are like, hey, you want to play like high power or like pre-Dockside ban, whatever you want to do. Yeah, you can. Yeah, it's just you can't really rule it in a casual setting, which makes sense. Obviously,
I will say to that point, how many people, all of us, I think, were ruling them out for a casual setting. all of these cards were known issues. And I put Ristic in a deck. I know we put Smothering Ties in the deck, even though people don't love those cards. They still make it into casual decks. Jewled Lotus doesn't. Mana Crypt doesn't.
That's rough.
No one's putting these cards, right?
Mana Crypt does more than J-Lo. I've run into like some ding dong sitting down and being like, "This is a 5. It's a joke deck. It all has to do with food and making salads."
This guy's ridiculous to you because you didn't put it in your decks. Jake's not putting them. Like you guys that have copies of these are sitting in binders and on shelves and doing. No one's putting these in casual decks because they know how ridiculous these cards are. So when you're obviously,
none of us. Don't say no one because they are saying that this is way prevalent.
No. But I mean, for the clued in people, obviously we know we know about these cards. We can self-select, do what we need to do. But if you're the many actual millions of people playing Commander, you bought a precon off a shelf, you're trying to get that LGS game, and someone just pub stomps you into the ground with Jewled Lotus and then Mana Crypts into a stasis, and you're like, what in the Christ is happening? Like, I hate this game.
Yeah, I did pick up a game recently, and then let's hit these supers, and then we'll get right back into the conversation.
Really quick, I just want to
go ahead.
I checked. I what I just said. What's interesting is I've been checking the Commander Master box and also for collector booster, and then also LCI boxes. Those have not moved, but the packs on TCG Player have taken a pretty big dive. So
look, while we're back on that, I'll say my opinion on this. The whole, oh my God, the LCI and the CMM packs were in the festival in a box was fun to talk about, and there were 2 big ass chase cards in those 2 sets that you can find in those packs, but I don't really think, I think honestly it's one of the things that we need to kind of drop off of this story because it doesn't really move the needle a ton on anything that matters. The bigger problem to me would be all of the marketing around it originally if they were already aware that this was going to happen. However, we know that MTG sets take years to produce, and so might have also just been locked and loaded. I mean, when they found out.
Yeah.
This is where, I actually, I went over and watched some alpha investments, and Rudy had a take where he's like, if Mana Crypt, for example, was billed for next year's sets, and then the rules committee were to be like, no, it's banned, Wizards of the Coast would be like, the hell it is honestly, not a bad take, because if they're putting it into a set that's coming out next year, that communication between the two, like, you have to kind of think, because Wizards of the Coast commissions art and they plan all of these sets years ahead. Yeah. Like, they would need to be privy to the information, or they would need to be making sure that, hey, this can't happen, because those cards are marquee cards that are going to be used for next year.
I just think,
Jake, I like that take, but I really think we need to get to these supers.
Yeah, we do. I just think that, to button this, I just think that talking about the packs having the chase cards that just got banned in the Festival in a Box Final Flush, probably, they were flushing the packs, yes. But at this point, I feel like it's just such a...
the only reason I bring it up is because it's a proxy for conversations around the sealed product.
Yeah, 100%. Exactly.
Like, oh no, my sealed product is now doomed, and I'm like, I don't think that it's like. Take a look, guys. Like, it's not actually.
I'm not shitting on anybody even being concerned about
that. That's fair too.
I'm just saying that I don't think one chase card from that set is really going to move the needle long term. Everything's going to dip down short term. You can ask any store. I asked for stores' opinions on Twitter today. Your eyes would pop at some of the shit people were telling me. They were talking about, they've got one store introduced a 3-month back return policy so that they could just like, I know, I was just like, holy based department calling operator, please connect me. 3 months back, you're gonna let me return the Jewled Lotus I bought from you, dog? That is so sick. But that is the kind of shit LGS is taking baths to keep their customers because a handful of people were like, nah, and one of them in the room was like, don't do this. Oh man,
Coward.
that
No,
part
look.
still freaks me out that this wasn't unanimous, and I caught shit on Twitter for
we should-
saying that this needed to be
I
unanimous.
feel
Anyway,
like we're heading into two more conversations, right? Because we're headed into the
Yes.
RC
Super
riot-
chat, super
or-
chat,
right,
super
watch
chat.
Yeah,
out.
let's catch up on these here. Joel, you probably, for some reason, I do not have all of them before Agent Fulgor's here.
oh, I got you. Retro MTG. Oh no, Aras Ganando. No, Edward Davidson. Yeah, and then Travis. Okay, hang on. Here we go. Let's go back. We're going backwards. We're doing this, chat. Let's catch up. Brad with the tinfoil hat. We got that. Travis super chatted about MTG Metrics. Thanks. Edward Davidson, $5 said bans cannot be made with regard to the impact on the market. The 20% of major buyers that provide WotC 80% of their revenue want the cards to have value. I agree with the first sentence. Ban cannot be made with regard to the impact on the market. Fellas, thoughts on that?
I feel like we're going to spark an entire conversation just based off of
It's
that.
just-
But yeah, I don't.
Hell yeah, it's a
I don't
super
think
chat.
that you. I really don't feel like people should be. I don't want WotC or like the designers that are in charge internally of BNR stuff or
Uh-huh.
the RCs around them to be like, man, this card's too expensive to ban. I think that
I
the,
agree.
the moment this stops being designed around optimal gameplay patterns, I think is the moment whenever it starts to fall apart.
I agree with Travis. It's farcical if they don't consider they have to just consider gameplay. Yeah.
Couldn't agree more. However, you can consider a lot when you're talking about your approach. Your second sentence, Ed Davidson said the 20% of major buyers that provide WotC 80% of their revenue want the cards to have value. I think we all want the cards to have value, Ed. I think that cards having value is an integral part of the game, whether you like it or not. And I'm sorry
Also,
to put it
cite
just
your
kind of.
source.
I'm just trying to put it. I'm putting it bluntly, but I'm tired of hearing that all the cards should cost $0 and are just chess pieces. It's obnoxious. It's a complete misunderstanding of the entire ecosystem. And just at a base level, go tell your LGS owner that and see what they think.
Yeah. Also, collector-wise, I know collectors like to think they're collecting and they're holding the ship afloat. You're not. It's the 50,000 pre-con decks in Bloomborough that got sold. That's what's holding the ship afloat.
Yeah, no, I think
It's
it's
a lot.
Yeah. So that's what we think about that. Aras Ganando with the IDR 100,000 said
We appreciate you.
if they can ban cards based on community feedback, like they said, then why can't they unban cards based on community feedback? Both are actually the same thing, which is changing the ban list. Thoughts, fellas?
Wait, sorry.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. Let's get Coalition victory back in this.
Yeah, it is kind of weird that you've got a ban list now where like Mana Crypt is sitting next to Sway the Stars, and you're just like, woo, okay, what are we
I know
doing?
we'll get more into that, but obviously having a clear and comprehensible standard for bans is very necessary at this point. Obviously, it's evolved over the years. I get why we have certain bans, but we need to clear it all the way up now.
I think that
Yeah, I think
unbanning
so.
is something that they've done very, very sparingly. I mean, they definitely ban sparingly, and so, you know, I mean, they're at this point. Honestly, I would be shocked if they did anything. I think that they're probably going to go silent for months until the next scheduled update, and that'll be that. Retro MTG with the $5 said, "Coming at me, better not miss."
Appreciate your retro.
You know it. And that's up to Agent Fulgor, Jake.
Yeah, and then Agent Fulgor says the argument that these hurt casual play. We appreciate the $20, by the way. It doesn't hold up. Whenever someone gets an explosive start 100% of the time, the other three people in the pod will gang up on them. If Jewled Lotus plus Crypt were only $20 each, I'd still use them. Yeah, I mean, I do think that players want to gang up on somebody who gets an explosive start. It's a good moment of camaraderie where you're like, all right, time to kill this person. I think the issue is when you have somebody power out something with like ward and people just aren't able to answer it. Like maybe they're not running edicts or they just don't have a way to deal with it. That's when you get what people are talking about non-games here. Yeah, that's just kind of my thoughts on that one.
Yeah, same. They'll take them down. I mean, me and Spec played a game. Spec powered out crazy. It was just rock early on, and then put a bunch of threats on the board. And the other three of us turned and took him out first.
And no. The other three of you lost to the Ristic Study player.
Well, I mean, that's
Don't put this on me.
That's a whole nother
I think
thing.
that happens sometimes. I don't think it happens all the time.
We still
there's
ganged
been
up on
many
you.
times where I've played a game where somebody gets ahead because of fast mana or some other secret combo they were able to get, and people just aren't able. Sometimes it gets frustrating to me because people just say, just play the interaction that you just obviously have in your hand in a 100-card singleton format.
Right.
And sometimes people just get unlucky and don't have what they need to.
They don't have it. That's
Yeah.
right.
It is sometimes annoying to me that this game is this entire format is built around randomness, and then people all pretend as though everyone's just sitting around with answers to every problem in their hand at all points in time.
Yeah, it's a turn one Turgrid into.
You can't remove the
just
risk.
Sometimes.
can't.
I think it's more often. I've been trying to preach that recently because, I mean, play a lot of Commander games, dude, and there are so many times where it's like, yo, can anybody answer that? And it's like, nope. And yet all of our analysis is, well, I mean, the thing dies really easily.
Yeah. And then people will just be like, just build your deck better. And it's like, okay, I could just build a deck that's got nothing but removal and control and feels awful to play against.
Right. And the amount of resiliency decks have these days, Joel Blasphemous Act, and then the next turn, it's as if it didn't happen.
Yeah.
All of the decks were back.
Commanders with ward on them. You've got a million ways to give things hexproof and all this stuff. There's just not. I'm not saying that you cannot answer this stuff, but I think it is disingenuous to say, oh, it's okay if somebody gets a massive lead because everyone can just gang up and stop them. Because sometimes you can't gang up and stop them. Sometimes you gang up and you just lose, and you're like, okay, that wasn't much of a game.
Well, it's tough because you have to use anecdotal evidence for this entire discussion. And anecdotal evidence is just that. And so, just like you are like, not always. For us, it's like, not always. On either direction. Liam McNeil with the $2. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, Liam with $2. Thank you for your first super chat. We appreciate you. How about 3 ban lists, casual, normal, and competitive? I think the issue here is defining power level, right? Being able to players being effectively able to define their power level and then communicate that to
and bro,
the table, right?
The absolute weight to try and lift this on a constant basis is nobody's core is strong enough to do this. You have got, y'all want to play a normal game? Okay, yep, sounds good. Not casual, right? Or competitive? No, normal game? Okay, I'll get out my normal deck. Okay, cool. Let's go. Shuffle up. Turn 3. I play Dockside.
Yeah, what is a normal
Wait,
deck?
hang on. That's not in normal. That's only in competitive. I forgot to take my Dockside out. Wait, I'm actually looking at this. This is the casual version of this deck, but Dockside's in here for some reason. Right? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding? No.
Yeah.
No, I could not be more against multiple ban lists unless CEDH is able to become its own thing and like the AIs at the end of her go form their own shit.
John Copeland, $5 says, will CEDH break away and form a rules committee? Impossible to tell, but I know it's on people's mind. You guys have anything you want to add on that one?
Let's try to, I think.
Yeah.
So I think
2 weeks
Joel
ago.
was talking about it, let's not talk about those guys, but let's talk about the people that are respected, I would say, members of the CEDH community today have put out a game plan. So they're basically going to try and pick a committee to form a CEDH committee, and it's 4 people. They're all well respected. You can go find it onto it. We don't need to get into all of it.
Yeah.
But it seems like they have a solid framework for going about making this. I think it will work great if they have a specific, hey, this is a tournament series. These are the additional rules that we are going to use for this tournament. Otherwise, have at it, play with the ban list. I don't think it works if we have 2 separate ban lists. I think if they just have it for a tournament thing and be like, hey, this is what we're doing for our tournament. If you come to the tournament, this is how you play it. No big deal. And then everyone's happy, and it's not
I don't think everyone
confusing.
will be happy with that spec. I don't think that people will be happy. I think it'll be too obtuse. I think that
I don't think that you have two. Are we playing CEDH or EDH? Like, it's very simple.
That's not what. That's exactly the opposite of what he's saying.
Yeah,
he's
I'm
saying the actual opposite of that. He's saying let's have one ban list and let TOs individually determine.
Like, I agree with Joel. Whatever
Yeah,
Joel's saying, that's what I agree with.
and that's
I'm
fair.
I'm just
but
saying
that's not your purpose here.
You're like
no, it's fine.
You're
It's
like
okay. I'm ready.
essentially going, let's not have multiple ban lists, guys. That's ridiculous. Let's have 1,000 ban lists.
No, it's going to be
2,000 ban
extra.
lists.
It'll be one extra ban list depending on if that tourney series garners support. We've seen it in 40K.
Right, and I think they would just adopt that as like, this is now the thing.
And then they would.
And that's what
fine.
it is.
But if you go at it and you say, hey, here's our new ban list, all you're going to get is, no, let's add this. Oh, no, let's add that. And then it's just going to fall apart again. I think if a tournament decides, hey, this is just what we're doing, but we're just doing all the regular stuff, just if you play here, and if that tournament gains support, and then that's a whole thing, and then you have to organically do it. You can't just say, hey, here's the new ban list, because people are going to lose their
Are
money.
we
think
still
that-
responding to supers, or are we taking this?
Yes.
We're just gonna catch up on these really fast, and then we'll be done.
Hang
Luke
on.
here with the 5. Yeah, go ahead.
with the separate CDH ban lists. This was from a super chat. We're having a discussion about a super chat.
I don't know, but the whole show will become super chats, and I want to dive in on some of these topics.
Brother.
Yeah. Yeah, let's just go through them and we'll get quick takes on these so that we can catch up and
Sounds good.
carry on.
Do it.
Go ahead and say what you want to say about the separate thing, because Luke's
completely forgotten what we were even talking about.
Luke has a $5 super chat here that says CEDH should have a separate ban list to make sure that decks in the meta rely on these cards and can still be played. These cards make or break some decks. I think that's what we were exactly just talking about.
Yeah.
So
I do think it'll have to happen
people are saying
organically.
this. I do like that chat. This is the first time I'm seeing this, but chat can actually respond to supers, which
I'm
is
noticing
great.
that
So
for the first
there's
time too.
people
I think that's awesome.
that are responding to people.
YouTube
Watch and roll
actually
with the
giving
$5.
live streamers some love. Amazing. Thanks, YouTube.
So watch and roll with $5. We appreciate you. The health of the game is more important than a couple of cards. Some people's collections, the ban cards were busted, and the game will get better. Yeah, time will tell. If they keep rolling out bans, I'm gonna have an issue. But if this is like the last ban for a while this kind of settles out and we see where the health of the format is, I think it could be a good thing and a good way to just like move forward from here.
Darren Smith with the $20 said, I just wanted to say that Jake and Joel are magic. We really appreciate that.
That's very sweet
I
of
agree
you.
with you. Something that starts with a T. Borkshire said with $5, where do you all draw the line with fast mana? That is the giant question, and that's the elephant, right? They said these two cards are enough and indicate what we want, and everybody went, why'd you stop? If you're gonna do it, do it. Why'd you stop? And so that's where I think they stopped. But I personally, Vault, Chrome, Mox Opal is probably the most broken of those, but Mana Vault and Chrome Mox, I think.
Vault just requires so many resources to make useful, right?
Right.
It's a ritual potentially, but you can break it. I would still get rid of it. I get rid of Chrome Mox, I get rid of Ancient Tomb, all of it. Get it out.
Yeah.
Soul Rings 2. Break every single precon. Make WotC cry.
Jimmy
so
Faye.
You would just get rid of all the
fast
fast
mana.
mana completely and just turn it into Battle Cruiser the game?
It's not going to be Battle Cruiser the game. Like, we played with almost none of it, and we still played like a 40-minute game.
Yeah, fast.
Like,
I will say, I don't. Okay, hang on. I don't agree to take it as far as spec, but I do agree that if we took all the fast mana out, dude, there's too many cards printed right into synergies nowadays. I promise you.
Yeah.
The game we just played, the last game that I keep referencing was spec. It was just like, take all the fast mana out, and we would have still been just absolutely throwing haymakers.
We had a board wipe, we had Ristic Study, and we played under an hour. If you were saying that fast mana is the only way to not get a 2-hour game, read your cards now before you play your next game so you actually know how to play Magic when you go into it. Sorry, I'm being mean.
That was a little over the top.
It was. Sorry, chat.
Jimmy Faye with the $10 said this conversation took place in 60 card when Type 1 and Type 2 ended up being created. Anybody want to explain to Travis what Type 1 and Type 2 are?
Well, that's isn't standard Type 2? It is, right?
Yes, that is the old way they used to refer to standard and what is now modern, I believe.
Yeah.
They've all sort of ebbed and flowed and changed over time, but we used to play Type 2. That's what they used to call standard back in the day. So you know you're a classic MTG player if you're calling them Type 1 and Type 2. James Markey said looking at the drop-in price on 4 cards and concluding it's bad for vendors is not accurate. When good cards are banned, alternatives rise in price.
We are seeing that. We are absolutely seeing that with Vault and some other stuff. Evan with the 5 says, singleton, what is it called? Ban overreach, singleton, casual format. Yes, fast mana feels bad when it's not yours, but the focus of EDH is to win fast, but to do the cool thing. Yeah, I think so. People do want to do the cool thing. That's for sure.
All right. Travis, what's on your mind?
We appreciate all those supers.
Okay, well, what's on my mind really quickly is I know we just got through a bunch of supers, but I just want to make a plea to the Jake and Joel Are Magic community and everybody that's watching right now, and a ton of people are watching. I just want to let you guys know that for the past 2.5 days, I've been talking to these two dudes, Jake and Joel, and they have been doing nothing but spending all their time trying to figure out how to make good content for you guys, diving deep on it, all of that type of stuff. So if you appreciate what they do, please subscribe to their channel, maybe consider becoming a member of the channel, and maybe super chat if you feel like it, because they're the ones that are like as frustrated and emotional as everyone feels about this. I can promise you that while other people are dealing with jobs and life and all that stuff, these guys are going hard trying to cover this stuff. So please support them.
We appreciate that. Thank you very much. Your check is in the mail.
Yep. And Travis also check out Travis's channel. Check out MTG Metrics. Like, Travis, like, you had some really good takes on your video, and I do encourage everybody to go check that out as well.
Food Time killing it with the double link. Oh my god, dude, that's awesome.
Oh, there you go. Let's go.
Andrew Blake with the $10 said, I'm not talking about the cards or timing here. The one thing that irked me about this announcement was the flimsy reasoning and surface level discussion. Announcement content needed more TLC. Andrew, I couldn't agree with you more. I think that's really
that was like my whole thing.
Yeah, I think I said that to somebody on Twitter today, is like, oh my god, okay, I got yelled at for this. And maybe this pivots us into Travis, whatever you want to talk about. I posited that a decision of this magnitude needed to be unanimous, meaning on the grounds that a unanimous decision means everybody got a voice in, compromised, and came to that choice, not like somebody got railroaded over. I think that this decision should not have been made if it wasn't unanimous. And I said that on Twitter. And people came to me in the replies and were like, so you're saying that we can't have any ban happen ever without unanimity? And I was like, hang on. I said a decision of this magnitude, hands down the biggest ban that's ever happened, maybe the biggest ban that will ever happen. That not being a unanimous decision that was run by all of your commander advisory group, even if you don't use them, tell them 6 hours before you drop it and just be like, hey, keep the messaging consistent. Don't say you didn't know what this was about. Don't, please give your opinion, but know that you knew. Whatever. Probably you needed to use them different than that. But anyway, I said on that it needed to be unanimous, and I caught hell for that because it wasn't.
Because it's a bad take.
Well, that's fair. Why is it a bad take?
So here, I'm just kidding. But
no, I don't care if anybody disagrees with me. I think I've proven that over the last 48 hours. I'm gonna give a shit about what I give a shit about, and I'm gonna say what I say.
You saw, because you were talking about fast mana earlier.
Yeah.
You saw that they gave an explanation for why Soul Ring wasn't banned, right?
They didn't, but okay.
No, they did. I'm just trolling you because earlier I thought I would trigger you with this because I remember earlier you told me that everybody had told you this.
Travis, I have become. I am the trigger. I have become the trigger at this point. You can't trigger me any longer. I have fully absorbed it and become it.
The reason why the reason why I feel like the ban does not need to be unanimous, especially in these moments, is because I think the reason it shouldn't need to be, any ban shouldn't need to be unanimous, is because there will be times like this where you have to make a decision as a group that will have dramatic impacts on the community and on the reception of the RC and on all of the stuff. And I think in those moments, it is going to be very, very difficult to ever get a unanimous vote on something because of how extremely high it is. And so I don't think that you want to be in a position where your system stops you from being able to take controversial decisions because you need unanimous votes on very controversial decisions.
Okay, got it. Do you trust the Rules Committee?
Yes.
Do you trust every member of the Rules Committee?
Hang
on.
What do you mean by that?
Yeah. Do you trust every member of the Rules Committee?
I don't think that you need to trust every individual person in a regulatory body in order to trust the regulatory body.
Interesting. Let me
I think there's
that.
levels of trust too, because I can have trust in the intentions of all 5 people and still let the decision of the body be the superseding trust.
Like, I don't know if I trust. Right now I'm very happy with the way the FTC behaves, but I'm not saying that I believe in every person on the FTC, or I trust in every single person of them. I trust in this FTC to be able to do this.
Okay.
Some people, the Supreme Court is a good example of that, not to go too political, but like some people trust some, or they might trust the whole Supreme Court, but not, like you inherently, when you have a committee or a group of people, you are not always going to, you can trust in the whole without trusting in each individual piece.
Okay.
Like it's good that they dissent, right? It's good that we have dissent right between us, or else this would be a terrible show. People would be like, "Oh yeah, we know."
A lot of people would want to watch it if we were all just shitting on them. So I don't know if that's. I think that would be a terrible show, but it would probably get more views.
No, that is a fair response, and I can buy that. The follow up to that is, if you trust the Rules Committee and everybody on it, then why wouldn't we trust them to come to a unanimous decision? Because again, I think people are also like mischaracterizing how I'm thinking of a unanimous decision with a regulatory body of this kind, because I really think that it wouldn't be, we're going to railroad this through. I see the unanimous decision version of this as potentially being, all right, we are unanimous, we're going to ban X and X, Dockside and Mana Crypt. We're going to wait, and we're going to say Fast Mana is under review. We think Mana Crypt might take care of it, but we're also looking at cards like X and X.
But that is not unanimous. That was the stance of one person on the board, and everyone disagreed. So your version of unanimous is everyone who disagrees goes in with that one person.
No. You're mischaracterizing it, because I'm using that example as a possible compromise. It can be anything. We want to do them all at once. We don't want to ban anything at all. It's presented as a unanimous decision because they were. This is just absolutely the kind of thing where there's no veto system built in. There's no checks and balances built into a committee like this. And so after it is decided, there is no more review. We're moving on. They have spoken and we're done.
The checks and balances are the people who acknowledge the committee. So if right now Wizards and all of the TOs and all of the players said, actually, you guys have gone crazy, we're just not going to listen to all of you, the Rules Committee would have no power. That's a check and balance. They have to make decisions that maintain the faith of the general community of Magic the Gathering, and that is the check on their power.
Do you think that they just made a decision that...
I think they got very close to the edge, but given the fact that you have not seen, and maybe I'll be proven out wrong, right? Maybe JLK is the first in a line
avalanche
that will fall.
Potentially, but we don't know.
That is not, given the fact that everybody seems fairly split on this, given the fact that people have mostly seemingly accepted it, given the fact that Wizards has not tried to step in and seize power in this moment, I think that they got to the edge, but they did not go over it. Now, if next month there was a ban for the One Ring and Ristic and Smothering Tithe and Soul Ring,
it's over.
I think then you start. Yeah, then it's over. But I think that
it's a massive blow to consumer confidence at that point, and people are just like, oh yeah, I'm not buying anything. But we've seen a ton of that comment that's like, I'm proxying anything over 10, if the idea is to push out old and franchise players, then great, and then you just get in a bunch of new blood and people that don't care about any of that side of the game, and that very well could be the strategy, right? Is we're sick of the MTG Finance bros or the people who care about the collectability of their stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I mean, there's different angles for sure.
I want to address something I see in the chat. Warrior Poet says the rules committee are not elected officials who have earned anyone's trust. Why should I trust randoms? Completely disagree that they have not earned anyone's trust.
I disagree with
many
that as
people
well.
on that committee have earned a ton of trust. I think
Correct.
Sheldon, who was previously there, had intense amounts of trust and built a group that he seemingly believed in. And so I really disagree with that. And I think that even beyond that, even if you want to step away from the individuals, this rules committee has seemingly managed the single biggest expansion of a 30-year-old game and has led it to find success alongside WotC. I'm not saying it was all the rules committee, but the combination of these three entities, the community, the rules committee, and WotC, have led to the most success that this game has ever had, have led to viewership with celebrities that are coming in doing all sorts of stuff with Commander. Like, this isn't a healthy place. It would be very different if this whole format was like crumbling beneath us, but like I think they deserve a lot of trust for the fact that they've been okay.
100%.
I want to go back to Spectre's comment that was like, who does it, really, what did you say again? Because it was
what consumers?
Let's talk about what consumer, right?
Because there's YouTube magic, right? There's YouTube magic, and there's, like, honestly, internet magic, which is what we are. We are the people that are here that are so deep in the game that we're on a stream talking about it, versus the people that are like going to the local game store, that are casually picking it up, that aren't watching this. That
like, you could triple the size of CDH, like you could triple the size of the CDH population, and it's still a rounding error for how many people play Commander, right? Like, this is like, and I'm not saying that to say CDH is small. Like, it's awesome, and we love I love that it exists. I'm just saying the scale. Some people forget how massive this is. Not just Commander, but Magic in general. This is a massive game. The entire Twitterverse everyone on Twitter could say we're not buying Magic, and maybe they see a 5% dip, maybe 10.
Sure.
Like, it's
Yeah, so I mean, it's like, it could be, like, all right, we want to shake up the format. We also want to be able to push out cards that are staples, right? Let's say cards that are like, they go in every single deck. Ristic, Mystic, Smothering Tithe, Esper Sentinel. If you're playing those colors, you're probably playing those cards. So say they do kick all of those people out, or those people leave the game, as long as there's still people buying precons and stuff, it doesn't really hurt them, right? They're like, okay, well, those people are gone, but we've onboarded so many people through, the cuteness of Bloomborough or the spookiness of Duskborn.
Dude, I saw people in the chat earlier saying like, oh, well, the RC's done. When Hasbro sees this hit their bottom line, they are gonna get these guys fired. And I'm just like, that is such a gross misunderstanding of like the entire ecosystem and the financial.
And this isn't,
like,
and like, I'm not saying this to say that your consumer confidence hasn't been hit, or that people that have lost confidence have invalid takes. Like, of course, that's 100% true. I'm just asking, like, take a step back. Like, is it just us? Is it our microcosm of people that have lost a little faith? Is it everyone that plays Magic? I don't think it is. I think by and large the majority of people, like, they made this decision. They knew it was going to take a hit in some places. That's the unfortunate side effect of doing something this massive. But on a whole, the majority of people, they believe, are going to have a healthier format coming out of this, and it's going to suck for a little bit, and then hopefully it will be better.
Yeah.
To your point about it didn't affect Hasbro's bottom line, I agree with that. And honestly, that's kind of the problem, right? This burden is getting shared by the players and the stores, and that's it. So
I think Wizards take some heat. So many people don't understand the circumstances that they do blame Wizards for this. A lot of people
they'll take heat, but we're talking about affecting the bottom line, affecting monetarily. Who's going to care? Wizards, Hasbro, they don't give a shit. Ain't gonna affect them.
I think it is hard to believe that these were not cleared with Wizards of the Coast in some capacity.
Here we go. So this is another topic that Joel, if you were the host, with your permission, I would love to talk about.
We are the hosts together. I am here to just disagree and give bad takes. That's my only role.
You've been
here.
the moderating force over the course of the stream.
Oh, it just depends who's listening. We could be
that.
we could be the bad take givers. It just depends who's in chat.
My superhero name is
finish that
moderating
thought.
force.
What, you want me to finish this thought? Yeah. Yeah, I think that with something like this, there is some sort of pre-planning that goes into it. And also, there is a small part of me that believes that, Wizards is like kind of like what you're speaking about, Travis, but in a little bit of a different way, because you said that you have to have the RC and Wizards of the Coast separate. And I agree with you, because it's a conflict of interest, right? Wizards of the Coast isn't going to outright ban their marquee cards that they've used to push sets. But I do think in some capacity, Wizards of the Coast needs the RC as a tool to ban things for them, so that they don't have to take the heat for those decisions. And the RC works as an important tool in doing that, because there is someone to blame that isn't Wizards of the Coast. There is a way to edge out problematic cards, and it doesn't fall on them. It's like, hey guys, look, that's why the RC exists, so that we can, monitor the format.
I think there's two things here. One, I don't think, actually, a quick round here. Do you guys think Wizards wanted to ban these cards?
No.
I think that it would have had to have been in some capacity cleared with them. There had to be some sort of
Like if Wizards, the RC didn't exist, and Wizards had to make the decision whether or not to ban these cards, do you think they would have banned them?
No.
I think yes.
Really?
And the reason I think yes is this, because Wizards of the Coast has Marvel, and they have Final Fantasy, and they have every new Universes Beyond IP under the sun. We just had Chucky and Ghostbusters, and those big sets are going to need these over-the-top pushed cards, and those cards need to have a place in these decks. And so if everybody's deck is optimized and homogenized in order to be the most optimized blue and white deck, you've got Rhystic, Mystic, Esper Sentinel, Smothering Tithe, all of your fast mana, you got Mana Crypt, you got Mana Vault, you have everything that you need to like when Infinity Gauntlet comes out, or whenever Captain America's Shield comes out, people are going to be like, I just don't have a space for it.
You're saying that they needed to ban staples so that they could rotate Commander, essentially?
Yeah, kind of like, because so many decks are, at least in CEDH, so many decks are solved, right? It's like, it's very hard to find a flexible slot in some of those decks. And I'm not saying that CEDH is where Captain America's Shield is going to go. It's all speculation. But I think in some capacity, if so many decks already have all of these high power staples, and you already have all of these cards that are like S tier cards, even when the new hot shit comes out, you're looking at it and you're going, I just don't have a spot for it, or it's trash compared to this. It's like, well, now that Jewled Lotus and Mana Crypt are gone and Dockside is gone, it brings more flexibility. And so I think when these high power staples come out, people are more interested in brewing with them and consuming them, instead of just having, I'll find a spot if I can.
I won't tangent, and I'll toss it down to Travis. Travis wanted, and then Spec after
I
that.
didn't want to get Spec's take. If Spec,
oh, okay, yeah, we'll toss it to
If
Spec.
that's what they were gonna do, they would have started printing it a lot more, actually used up their reprint equity, and then tossed it out the door.
I don't think they wanted to ban them.
I think that there's two things here. I think that it's not anybody completely dismissing Jake's take on this is not thinking about it fully, because
it's a corporation.
They did want to rotate Modern, right? Modern was supposed to be the non-rotating format, and they proved that they will make efforts to rotate a non-rotating format. Like you're saying,
they didn't do it in secrecy. They do it every 3 years.
However, this seems like a very strange, around the bend way to accomplish that when they have the power to print whatever the fuck they want to.
Yeah, I think the reason, so I like your reasoning a lot, Jake, because I think it is a way of thinking about the way of incentives that Wizards might have that I had not thought about.
Yes.
The reason why I disagree with it is because I think that they can just be like, hey, guess what? This is a Tesseract. It says Jewled Lotus underneath it, but it says Tesseract on top.
Well,
And like,
oh, sure.
And as you guys have said, like the way WotC does stuff has by and large been pretty predictable. We know how they rotate Modern. It's with Horizon sets.
Right.
You know, and they don't have to ban stuff like Ragavan wasn't banned and it sees no play now because they printed just a bunch of other broken. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
So they could easily do that kind of stuff. And when they do this power, like we saw with like Bondlands and stuff, they used to have a lot of reprint equity, and then they're like, you know what, we don't need to use this specific, and then they printed them into the dirt. Right, all the pain lands are $1 now. Right, because they knew they were coming to standard,
right.
So they're like, they juiced them into some precons and be like, oh, cool, we get some pain lands, and then they kept doing it, and they were like, wait, what? And then we kept doing it, and now they're in standard, and we're like, oh, it's a buck.
I just thought of it. Brawl is the modern analog. Brawl, when they got Brawl going, they were trying to get us to all build commander decks out of just standard rotation cards, specifically to try and get a commander rotation. So it's not, I disagree with it, I've already said that, but it's not the craziest thought when you start looking at the track record that they would try and rotate commander somehow.
Jake is correct in that. They do want to rotate it because rotation gives them money, but they're going to use the tools that we've seen them use.
I think so too.
The only issue, the only pushback I'm going to give you on your take, specifically Spec, is because I do think that if it's just a redundancy piece, then they're just going to be like, oh, well, I'll keep Jewled Lotus and I'll bring in this new
it's not going to actually rotate anything.
You know?
Oh, for sure, right?
Yeah, because I do see plenty of people disagreeing with me. I see some folks that do agree with me here. I'm always going to have a little bit of more of like an outlandish take on some of this stuff. I accept that. I also, you know, I don't trust a giant big corporation. And I know there's a lot of moving parts, and I know that there are people there that study how people consume, and there are people there that are in place to make sure that, you know, their business gets done.
Yeah,
I do agree with Travis. You can't have the RC and Wizards of the Coast, or you can't have Wizards of the Coast make these decisions
So that loops it back to why I brought up this topic. And I don't know, Joel, if you can run a poll in the chat.
Yeah, hell yeah, I can.
If people wanted WotC to have these banned. The thing that has confused me repeatedly in a lot of the community dialogue around this stuff is that I firmly believe Wizards would not have banned these cards had they been in control. And it's confusing to me to see a lot of people imply that, like, oh, Wizards wanted this, or the RC is not independent enough, or whatever. Do we think, for instance, that Wizards would have banned these, let's say even if they did want to ban them, do we think they would have banned them while they were shipping out Festival in a Box Secret Lairs with these things? Like, nothing about what happened this week strikes me as something that Wizards would want to do, that it would be from their playbook. Like,
I agree with you. So yeah, I was gonna say, so what's the final end game there?
Yeah, the final take here is, like, I don't think that I wanted to bring up the topic of how close are the RC and WotC, because everybody seems to think that, like, they're in lockstep on this stuff.
Oh yeah.
Like, I'm sure
there is a single member of the RC that does work at WotC.
Yes,
yeah,
that is true. And I actually, like, I don't have much of an issue with it. It's kind of a weird situation, I agree, but, like, I think it probably benefits the RC better more than disadvantages it.
Agree.
But I don't, like, I just wanted to bring up the topic of the RC Wizards relationship, because that has been all over the place. And it's so funny because I've seen people be like, Wizards must abolish the RC. One, as if Wizards was the initiator of providing it power. Two,
but you've already said that they could have the power themselves. They're the only ones to abolish it.
No, I disagree. I think, look, this is coming from the esports world.
I thought I misunderstood what you said earlier.
So I said that, like,
checks and balances,
their power is derived from us and WotC. So if Wizards of the Coast and the community all decided fuck the RC, then WotC could just be like, okay, here's the new rules. I have always, it's funny because this has brought up a topic that I've always been fascinated by, and what I've been excited about in the Wizard and the Magic space was the fact that the RC was this independent organization, and I've often wondered what would happen if WotC. I'm not going to look at you while you're shaking your head.
Sorry, I couldn't help it. I'm done. I'm done.
In my opinion, the RC. The reason why I said it's gotten up to the edge is because in the past, I do not think WotC could have abolished the RC if they wanted to. One, the idea that they could just like the phrase like abolish or get rid of or anything like that is always very funny to me, because it's not like they can fire these people. I guess they could fire the employee that they have on staff of the RC, but they can't like these are not people who are there.
I agree with
WotC
you though.
wants them.
I think that changed when Sheldon passed, but I do agree with you.
So I think that the big question is, if Wizards wanted to compete with the RC, what they would have to create is a competing standard and try to get it enforced. And what you would then need is the TOs and the community to accept their standard over the RC standard. And what has been very disappointing to me and throughout all of this is that for the last 2.5 fucking years since I got into Magic the Gathering, I have seen video after video, Reddit comment, Twitter post after Twitter post of everyone complaining about Wizards of the Coast, how much power they have, the decisions that they make that are anti-consumer, like how frustrated people are with like Magic 30, all these different things. And at the very first sign of any kind of drama on the Commander front, where do I see so many people rush? They're like, please, Wizards of the Coast, save us. Our tyrannical overlord, we need you to step in and stop these bandits who have taken our mana crypts and our jeweled lotuses from us.
Please,
And I'm
God.
just like, wow,
Get
you
in
people
here.
are so pathetic.
Mommy!
You have what so many people wish they could have in their communities. You have a balancing force that acts in contradiction to the whims of a giant corporation that controls your whole ecosystem, and yet you, because you're frustrated with one decision they made, want to go become a corpo scum and just chill with these guys.
Okay, hang
Like,
on.
it's
As your
crazy.
last
say,
sentence continued on, hang on. As your last sentence
You
continued
thought I
on,
was going to be the problem?
I think that you got a little outside yourself as you continued talking. I think
I
that
stand by everything I said.
your sentence at
him
the
out of
end
here.
of going into corporate scum and what did you say?
It's just crazy.
I don't think it's crazy at all, and here's why. It has been proven on the RC side that a decision like this isn't going to get run through the appropriate channels to be completely vetted and prepped, and at the very least, like packaged and messaged and sent out appropriately. And I trust that outside of Magic 30th anniversary, which I will absolutely not defend, absolutely horrible shit show, I would rather it be maintained by Wizards of the Coast, because you were very reductive of this decision. They made one decision that you disagree with. Yeah, they made the biggest decision that they will literally ever make. That they literally, hang on, that was exaggeration. That they literally have ever made, and maybe that they will ever make. It's not just one decision that I disagree with.
I gotta say, as a competitive Magic player, for many years, I get reamed every BNR. So I don't think WotC would do a good job at all handling this. They consistently do a bad job. Pioneer,
I don't think that we would have. I don't think that we would have such a sweeping change made with such a light reasoning. I don't think that would be the case if it was under WotC's roof. That's all I think.
Disagree. WotC released a BNR when multiple formats were broken with no changes and a new product launch. In the BNR.
They just posted no changes, and people
said no program.
Made sleeves.
Everything is whatever.
Oh, I know.
Here's play boosters.
I've never said that they are fantastic at choices and they've done a good job. I am saying that they never would have let this thing happen without proper packaging and proper vetting through all appropriate and responsible channels.
They have before. They're learning.
Clear they didn't.
They're learning now, and the RC is learning it too, right? Like the issue.
Oh,
like
yeah,
they
for
lost their they lost their the only guy that ever did PR passed, right?
Right.
And because they didn't replace him, and they didn't think they had to, or what, because they're not PR people, they're just volunteers, right? They don't know actually how to do any of this stuff, right?
Right.
They don't sit in front of camera, you know what I mean? So when the actual literal shitstorm hit on Monday, they're like, oh, okay, we need to actually do this part of the job too, and because it is a very real part of the job that they didn't address.
So
Right.
while, Travis, I do agree with a lot of what you've said. I mean, I've conceded on a lot of it. I'm not saying that I think they would do a perfect job. I think that they would have done a better job with this decision. And this decision
but that's not enough to abolish them.
this decision is big enough that it at least has to be discussed. I really think it does.
Yeah, I look, first off, the community is split on whether or not this is a good or bad thing.
Sure.
And I think generally
massively.
speaking, the only thing that most everyone will agree on, including the RC, is that their communication should have been better. So if the only thing you can truly fault them on, the only like unilaterally huge mistake that they made was a communication issue, I think that can be solved. I don't think that is enough justification to say, and now Wizards needs to take over the format.
Well, I don't think
Like,
that
if
it's
anything-
just a communication issue, to be clear.
What is it then?
I
Because
think
like the community split 50-50. Like there's no unanimous decision on whether or not this was a bad idea or a good idea.
yeah, I get that. I understand.
Well,
that
you
it was
guys have
split.
said that the bans are good. So what is aside communication, what is the other issues that we have with it?
You mean
Right.
when you say you guys, do you mean Joel and I?
Joel,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because Joel said he said that this was handled poorly.
No, Joel said in video 1 on the raw reaction, our first video, Joel said that the bans, he understands them.
Yes.
I remember you saying
Sure.
that. I was much more emotional than Joel was, but even after, making it to day 2, I'm still sour about it. But I do understand powering out a ward creature on fucking turn 1 or 2 and how broken that can be, especially with stuff like Bojo or this new winter card that's coming out.
Sure. I just meant,
like,
we all seem to agree from a gameplay standpoint, for the most part, right?
Right.
When we talked about it. So what are the parts that we thought were bad about this? Because we all agree that the communication was an issue, right?
Right.
So I'm just trying to ask, what are the other bad parts of it?
Yeah.
I like Spec's idea. Like, make the case for abolishing the RC.
Hang on, that's two way different things. You just asked.
no,
Holy
no.
shit!
really quick, I just want to say we got over 1,000 people watching tonight. We really appreciate all of you so much. If you are enjoying the stream, we would encourage you to like and subscribe. Come catch a stream in the future. We're joined by Travis Gafford this evening. Travis, known mostly for League of Legends, but does a lot of Magic the Gathering. He's really into Magic. He's joining us this evening. You can find him on Travis Gafford MTG, and then Spectre is here from MTG Metrics. These are our guests. I do want to say we also have about 10 supers that we'll get to at some point. I'm marking all of them down. Dr. Terror, and then all the way down to the mate. We've got all of you, and we will get to you at some point. So don't think that those are going unseen. That's pretty much it.
We'll go back to Spec's question then. Sorry.
Well,
Yeah.
right. So we said gameplay probably good, communication probably bad. But Joel had mentioned that there were other bad things that happened, and it's part of this decision.
Yeah, got it. So
let's talk about at least one, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk about another aspect that you would say is bad.
solve world peace. Got it. So I think that the card choice was abysmal. You can't choose. You can't, and this gets back to the expensive piece. You can't choose cards that, as the creator of the game, you have been convincing people through your marketing to go and spend dollars.
Well,
And I
but
know
that's
that people are super into this isn't an investment. You shouldn't expect the cards to hold value. I agree with that. But some sort of consistency in messaging, which now has just been thrown out the window by the RC, would be great. And so
But the RC isn't making and printing those cards.
no, they're not. But they need to be. They need. Every part of the community has to be acknowledged. I really truly believe that. and ban them based on gameplay decisions, but they didn't just do that, right? We can't reduce that down to, oh, they only banned them for gameplay decisions, because if that's true, Sol Ring would have gone, Arcane Signet would have gone, Ancient Tomb would have gone, all of these would have gone if they were truly righteously trying to preserve the purity of our game, the spirit of the game. They would have banned all those. They would have banned Rhystic Study along with it. It would have been like, if you want to have a fucking Bloody Monday, do it. Do it. This pissed off half your player base and doesn't even seem like a full measure. And so, at this point, they've done a great job. They haven't broken my trust. However, what kind of act of trust breaking, what level, where does that level reach to be like, fool me once, shame on me, fool me twice, shame, no, sorry, other way around. Fool me once and I can't get fooled again.
Nobody makes me bleed my own blood.
Former president has a similar quote, I think.
So in the sense of parts of the decision were bad. Okay,
Yeah.
so gameplay, we say yes to, it was good in the sense of overarching fast mana needed to get trimmed
It's like
back,
the theme. It's like the tone.
right?
It's like
Okay.
the tone. I'm not salty at all, guys. It's like the tone. I'm trying to figure this out right here in front of y'all. Honest
Sure.
to God,
No.
like,
I mean, but that's why I'm trying to hit you with it, right?
Oh,
It's
I
like,
know.
what
And
is it?
I love this. I'm here for it. I'm just clarifying.
Right.
If I seem frustrated, fair. I'm not salty. I really, this stops when I walk away from my
when we
computer.
play shooters after this, then Joel gets salty. This is nothing.
Yeah,
Joel
I
and
don't.
I are pissed at each other. This is the last time you'll ever see us both on camera.
That's right. That's right. We hate each other now. And so yeah. Sorry, I derailed myself.
Okay, so let's push the gameplay stuff out of it. Let's say we agree that this was the amount of fast mana that had to get hit, right? Obviously, we all sit in different places.
Sure.
I acknowledge that. Obviously, I want more to get hit. Some pieces were incorrect, not incorrect. Let's put that part aside, and let's just say, by and large, the concept of gameplay was correct.
Fast mana.
Communication was there anything aside communication of how they did this was incorrect?
Anything besides the communication?
Yeah. Or and if there
Wait, hang
isn't
on.
anything
So we're
beside
gonna
that,
yeah. So we're gonna isolate card choice off, and we're gonna say anything
'Cause that's
but
gameplay, right?
communication.
right?
I
So
mean,
let's
communication
and if
of
there
your
isn't
gameplay
anything,
decisions is kind of the whole thing, right? That's it.
then that's what we should dive into, right? Let's talk about how they communicated it and what was good and what was bad.
Okay, hang on. I think Travis had
You
a
wanted
path that he wanted to take me down when you were done before we pivoted into a different version
the
of
reason
this.
and then supers. We should do
kind of
supers soon too.
Because
Yeah.
I think just to get it out there and make sure that I understand what you are saying, Joel.
Yeah.
It sounds as though you feel as though the RC should be a Wizards run thing. Like you have after the. It sounds as though this has shaken your faith.
Yes.
And you now feel like it's time for Wizards to step in and take over running the Commander format.
Correct. I think that you need Wizards has been pretty transparent about some of their internal processes of like how they check and balance themselves. They've got the color committee, they've got different teams that are champions of certain things, and they basically get to, you know, defend that or attack it at will. Between that small group of people, and obviously from what we're seeing right now, there's just not enough going. And I don't trust them as volunteers, no fault of theirs, to go and get this across the finish line in a way that is like really good for the entire community, or at least the majority of the community. And with this decision, it is provable this is not satisfying the majority of the community.
I'm not sure. Well, to be clear, I'm not sure the decision is also angering the majority of the community. Like, I think it's pretty split right now, which is I think what your guys' video was.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It's not, but it's neither. Yeah. It's neither. We can't say that this was for the majority of the community because that's provably false.
Sure. And you can't say it's against the majority of the community because that's also
no. I
false.
only think, and I've been very clear. I only think it's against one main section of the community.
I disagree with both of those premises because the people voting on Twitter and all these people, they're not the majority of the community. This is still an irrepresented small sample size of the Commander community at large, and it's impossible. You know what I mean? Like, so
I mean, we can look at trending. I mean, it was worldwide trending.
We're internet magic.
Sure.
But I think if you're going to go down that route, Spec, like that only favors the idea that banning this stuff is good.
Well, I mean, if us
more
the
casual
entrenched
fans are probably not going to be like thrilled about Jewled Lotus and Mana Vaults showing up whenever they're going into the
right. So I think it benefits those people at large, and the fact that the most entrenched people are still 50-50 of it would to me indicate that the majority of people are actually benefiting from this. And is that the more casual, like, yeah, we barely play Magic people? Yeah. I would say it is benefiting those people more than it is us, the people that just sit and talk about it, buy, all the sweet cards, go to conventions, get, Alana Danner's signature on our 11 Jewled Lotus. What were you guys thinking, buying 11 of those? Yeah, kind of stuff. Those people obviously took a huge hit, but the Commander community at large may end up better than that, for it.
So the reason why we headed down this route is because Joel, like, you feel like WotC should take over the format. You said that just now, again, just saying so that I understand.
Yeah.
You said that it's because after this decision, you have lost faith in the ability of the RC to regulate
RC had a long history of predictability and a cadence and a way of doing things, and this feels directly in the opposite direction of how they've always operated. It's really tough for me to see a 4-card ban while they're saying we don't like to ban cards, y'all. That's really tough for me to reconcile because you didn't talk about this at all. Nobody ever said fast mana. We didn't get a heads up, and now it's just all gone. We don't like to ban cards.
And one of the cards is freaking Jewled Lotus, which can only be played in Commander and be relevant.
Iconic.
And it's for one single card in Commander.
But it sounds as though we all agree that at least the gameplay portion of this is like at the very least split.
For sure.
Yeah, I think I think there's a case for Crypt because you can use that mana on anything. I think there's a case for Dockside because anybody who plays Dockside, it becomes Dockside the Gathering, which that card got ruled out of our pods. But I think with Jewled Lotus, it's honestly it's a trash ban. I think that one is
have gone back and forth. Like there's some people who I think will.
And Nadu, I don't care.
I think Nadu seems to be the only one that's on contract.
No one gives a shit.
The designer of Nadu said it was a design mistake. The designer of Nadu said it was a design mistake. So why are we still talking about this?
Shit, this stupid little bird has taken. So, it's so funny how, despite all of this, the entire Magic community has collectively shit on this.
I just feel like a crazy person with Nadu, bro. I'm just like, why are we still on this? Why are we still on this?
It sounds as though, Joel, your major frustration is you're like, hey, there was not enough of a warning.
Yeah.
Like you guys, it changes the philosophy of the way you communicate with us, et cetera, et cetera. It feels as though the thing that has really shaken your faith here is the communication thing. And and I think what I'm asking is, is it this communication thing that is the reason why you feel like Wizards should take over?
I guess
that's what it sounds like.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm willing to concede that. We've sort of boiled it down, tried to boil it down from a couple other ways to figure out exactly what the hell I'm thinking over here, because I do feel a way. Trying to figure it out. Definitely feel a way. Might feel a different way tomorrow.
It's like when you hit a girl and you're like, oh, I actually like her.
I've never hit a girl in my life, Spec. What the hell are you talking about?
What are we going on here?
Jesus.
I think that's what's been kind of fun about this is that myself and Spec are, I think because we are more on the periphery, what we've watched because we watch your content, we talk to you guys. It seems like you guys have had very emotional reactions, and I'm happy we're having this conversation because it's helped me distill down what it is that is frustrating you.
I love to do this, dude. I love to get to the best truth, like just whittle and whittle and whittle. I'm super into this. Yeah. And everybody's saying I'm salty. It's pissing me off more that people are saying I'm pissed off at this point than Oh my God, he's so
Dude,
crying about
Joel,
these
calm
bans.
down. Okay,
I know,
Joel,
man.
it's okay.
Joel's over here.
I do.
Joel's
Hang on. I want to
fuming
ask.
right now.
MLB 1472 said, "Should I be allowed to?" Joel's losing the plot. Should I be allowed to sue Wizards because my Tarmogoyf's not $400 anymore? Fuck yeah,
Correct.
I believe that
Absolutely. And post
wholeheartedly
about
with
it on
my
Reddit.
full chest.
Okay.
Go sue him.
So
Yeah.
back on the track. We've discussed that Joel's take is that
Yeah.
or Joel's feeling is
Let's do
Salty.
this.
WotC to take over the format.
Yeah, yeah,
Because the lack of the failures in communication on this issue
yeah.
have made me lose faith.
Yeah.
For me,
Correct.
I will agree with you, and I did an entire
Oh my
video that's on my channel
God.
that the communication stuff was a failure.
I watched your video. I loved it. It was a really
Where
good
you and
take.
I disagree is the idea
Yeah, I know.
that Wizards is incapable of making similar communication failures, because I think they have in the past, and I think they will again. I think we disagree with the idea that like for me, I think the fact that the RC has acknowledged that they fucked up on communication
Yeah.
around this stuff is enough for me to be like if they came out and they're like, listen guys, fucking eat it, you know, like
Yeah.
then I'm not-
They could have.
then
I'm
I'm
with
like,
you.
okay, yeah, I don't know if
Yeah.
this guy's got it, but if they realize they made the mistake and they will learn how to do this better, then I don't worry. I'm not like, okay, now's the time to end the RC and give it over to
Right.
WotC. And then the other thing I disagree with, or the other place where I think you and I maybe have this disconnect, is like, for me, the benefits of having an independent third-party entity that can push back against
Yeah.
Wizards making decisions right now, but also in the future. You know, we don't know, like right now we have a lot of faith in this company, but companies are made up of people. And if Hasbro comes in, you know, I saw firsthand how Blizzard fell apart over time as Bobby Kotick took more and more involvement in that company.
Exactly.
Like, as things get worse and worse, I would love to have a third-party entity that can counterbalance
100%.
any potential things.
Yeah. Because we don't need the Chris Cox ring to
Well,
get printed.
do you want to hear the contradictory thought here? You want to hear my contradictory opinion of what you just said? If WotC was managing the format, I believe that there should be a community group that they have to listen to make decisions. They got to run them by them. Oh, we're on the contradictory train now. It's off the rails.
Garino has an interesting message here. Can we talk about timing? Rules Committee had 5 years to ban Docksided and waited until after the reprint. Same with
30
Jewled
on
Lotus.
Mana Crypt.
No one is mad at
We
Nadu
will-
because it happened with reasonable timing.
Dude, why did
We
they
will
ban
get
Mana Crypt when it
to
came out?
the timing of it
Fucking stupid.
after a message from these super chats.
Yeah, here,
I
let's
mean,
catch
there are a ton of supers coming in.
Let's go. We want to
you
read them.
need to
We want to
go-
go quick reactions.
Yeah,
Let's fire.
I'll go through them really quick.
I'll go
we
back
do
and forth with
appreciate-
you. How far down are we?
Yeah. Now we won't have to you're going to want to scroll all the way up to Dr. Terror, because that was the last one, and it's a pretty far way up. It's after Andrew Blank. I'll start it off. Dr. Terror with $5. We appreciate all the supers tonight. We're going to get through these really fast. We can give takes, but if we've already covered it, we're just going to say thank you for the $5. Dr. Terror with $5. We appreciate you. Banning all the fast mana might hurt deck variety. Yeah, I want to talk about this because if we ban all fast mana, does green get out of control? I do want to come back to that. Suddenly expensive commanders are not viable unless you're in green. Who knows? Possibly. The Mate with SCK50. I enjoy your coverage. There was the same talk about more bannings. There was no more bannings for 3 years. I'm not worried. Yeah, we'll see. Time will tell. Samuel with $5. If these cards were overprinted and flooded to the format like Sol Ring, would it have changed the outlook of the ban?
Yes.
If these cards were overprinted, yeah.
He's asking if these cards weren't expensive, would this change this?
If they were cheap.
Yes.
Yeah,
and there were cheap
think
options
so.
that they could have targeted.
Yeah.
If they hadn't
really
been
agree.
like recently reprinted, you don't agree, Travis?
If these things were $2, I think that it would make it even more likely that they would ban them.
Oh no, but the outcry. that they were banned.
Oh, you're saying if the community
Would the
be
response
as upset?
be as hard if these
100%
cards
the
were
community's way more
cheap?
upset because of it.
Exactly.
Like the emotional reaction right now, I think the majority of the emotional reaction is due to the fact that people felt like there were a ton of money.
Has to do with the money, but everybody wants to be like, oh, not about the money, but the whole outcry is about the money. That's the whole fucking point.
But we all
Just
agreed that they can't make decisions based off of make ban decisions based off of value of cards.
They shouldn't, but that choice, there were other options.
Luke,
guys, just get more money.
Yeah, Luke with the $5 says CEDH would need to be the main commander format for WotC to care enough about it to ban it. That's definitely a take. I do imagine if CEDH had a much more prominent, it's hard to tell, but I imagine if it were a huge community, then yeah. Josh with $5 says, my pod started fully proxying 2 years ago. Isn't it part of the discussion that this heavily compels players to just proxy? We've been telling people to proxy for a very long time. That is always going to be a good way to minimize your exposure to loss. Matt with $5, several stores are rebelling and placing public statements of dissent and that their location will not be abiding by these bans. Thoughts? I think that, you can take a stand, but
I use proxies right next to my real cards.
Could just hurt your business.
I mean, it's not the craziest ban list. It's not the craziest ban list an LGS has ever posted. So
no, not at all.
Matt, thank you for the $5. Kyle with $6.99 Canadian. The foil tin hat theory. When Sheldon passes, the RC was not in WotC's pocket. They can't keep milking Lotus and Crypt, so they want people to buy new chases. The Sheldon stuff aside, it's kind of like what I talked about, which is kind of like rotating out singles in order to, usher in new powerful cards. It's all speculation. Crown with $5, we appreciate you. Says Jewled Lotus future value equivalent, $5. Atarok with $5, we appreciate you. Would you all be having this discussion if Mana Crypt, Dockside, and Jeweled Lotus cost less than 40? That's what we just talked about. People would feel a lot less bad because they weren't chasing all of these.
But it would also fundamentally change a lot about the upsetness as well. It's not just the money. Like Jeweled Lotus was an icon. I think that's why I'm so particularly protective of that single card. It just meant a lot to me personally. I think it meant a lot to the community. It was a big deal at the time.
It defies gravity?
I would say that it doesn't quite defy physics. I don't think that thing defies physics like Soul Ring defies physics, baby.
Yeah. Wolf Spain with $2. We appreciate you. Says, fellas, can we bring back Leovold? LOL, just kidding. We appreciate Wolf Spain.
No. Good band. Let's go. Good band, bad band. Good band. Leovold, good band.
Says, my dude, creating EDH and then the rules committee was bigger decisions than this, I would believe. C-Train with the $5. Playing since 1997. This is the first time I've been thinking about no more Magic. Anything good and fun can be taken and millions lost in a day. C-Train, I recognize your profile picture. You've been watching our videos for a long time. We really appreciate you. You got to feel how you feel from it. Again, time will tell. You got to give it time to kind of settle out, because yes, if the bans keep flowing, then it's an issue. But if we don't get bans for 2 years, then
right. That's kind of the thing. That's kind of where Jake and I keep coming back when we talk about this. Is really it just depends on what happens next. At this point, this has happened. It's all happening. WotC's not taking over the format. I can want what I can want, but living with it is the reality. And so what happens next really determines honestly if they exist after that, because if they stay true to their word, then maybe we can weather this and everything just goes back to normal and this is a weird story. But if they don't, if they're not consistent with their messaging, with what they've said going forward, they're gonna have big problems.
I think WotC, I have a theory that WotC will start to slowly start taking over CEDH and normalizing CEDH after this, because I think that WotC, again, I'm in strong opposition to people who believe that WotC wanted these cards banned.
I agree with that.
I really feel like they are probably incredibly unhappy about what's happening right now, especially that they have no control over it. And I think that right now there are probably conversations happening behind the scenes of how can we slowly take put ourselves in a position where we don't have to let a third party manage this. I like executives who are up at the top of WotC are sitting there being like, how did we get here? Why is this happening? Why are these decisions being made and we have no say over them? And I think that they are probably, being told, okay, we can't just rush in and say, never mind, you guys don't have to worry about this.
Yeah.
But I do think that they probably will do is they'll start to normalize CDH. You'll probably start to see it show up more and more at events that they are attached to.
They've been trying to do it in Europe. Get some sanctioned actual ones.
I think that they will have a WotC list of cards that are banned or approved or whatever.
Yeah.
And that they will try to normalize the idea that they are the ones that are controlling that format, and they will push that so that they don't have to worry about this stuff in the future.
Yeah, I agree. Death Bout by Velveeta super chatted $10. Thank you very much for that. Great show, guys. Great diversity in all your takes. Keep on making great content as always. Hey, we'll be here with the shit takes as long as you're here to listen.
Appreciate the kind words. Wolfsbane, bring back Band as commander with the $2. We appreciate you. Dylan, wait, but Wizards doesn't communicate with us either. I mean, yeah.
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 Correct.
Yeah.
I didn't say
correct.
it was going to be an awesome option, y'all. I just said I think it should be the other way.
C-Train with another $5. We appreciate you again. How about the future? There isn't going to be any future fast land situations. Fast mana is a joke situation. You always have to deal with it. This had to be in from when we were having a previous conversation about fast mana. Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
It's tough. It is tough. And I think that's an interesting point. If, let's say, the Infinity Gauntlet, for example, is a mana rock that's really good, why should we all want to buy the blingest copies and buy the collector packs that have the sickest treatments with the serialized
I think that's a good thing.
Because why? Wait, hang on. I want to come back to that. Why would we be incentivized now, which is part of the issue here, to go and engage with all of the booster fun? I can't believe that during their booster fun era, WotC would allow this. And so, Travis, what do you think is a good thing?
I think it is a good thing if let's say somewhere in a printer right now is shooting out a card that says Infinity Gauntlet, tap and sacrifice, cost 1, sack Infinity Gauntlet to
imagine a really good card. Yeah,
5 mana.
We don't have to design it here.
It's one better Jewled Lotus,
I'm
right?
designing it.
Go ahead,
Joel.
Rock and roll.
You pay 1.
People are going to argue with you over the design and not your ideas.
You get 5 mana. I think it is a good thing if Wizards is like, oh fuck, should we have printed that card? That might have been a bad idea, because that might be something that could, I think that this is a strong push against Commander, cards that are printed for Commander to power creep Commander in negative ways for the point of pushing a set.
Do you think that it will actually matter?
Well, I hope it does, because I think, to your point, Joel.
Now we're into Hasbro territory, bro. They don't give a fuck about that.
Joel,
right, but the Commander RC has set the precedent that, hey, we can ban this.
Joel,
and if WotC decides to
why
print,
should we do this? Why should we go buy these things? So if it suppresses consumer demand for chase cards, I think that's a good thing for the consumer.
Yes, because WotC has to find a different way to sell us garbage.
You're telling me now that I need to be less worried about going out and chasing a $100 Jewled Lotus? I'm happy that I won't have to. I'll have less incentive to do that.
And I'm not, because I like the collecting aspect of the game. So we're back around to that's just your preference. And I like to have sets coming out that have 1% chance pulls, that have 0.5% serialized chance pulls. I'm sorry, but I like that part of the game.
No. That can still exist, but it doesn't have to be a card that's game breaking.
But I'm also confused. This is now where I get I'm not trying to challenge you. I'm legitimately just curious as your friend.
No, I want you to challenge me.
Because you don't like opening product.
No, I don't.
I remember until recently you were like, every time the idea of opening product came up, you were like, I haven't opened product since 1998.
Still haven't.
And then I'd be like, damn, Joel's so old.
I don't crack packs. No, hell no.
Yeah, definitely don't watch any video of the recent one.
Isn't it like, I guess I don't understand why it matters to you if there's like a chase card in a set, because you're not trying to pull it anyway.
I'm not trying to pull it. I'm trying to trade for it. How did I get my one ring? Who did I get that from?
But you can still trade for it.
That's what I just said.
You just have to trade less cards for the one ring. If consumer demand is suppressed because of lack of faith,
right,
that something might get banned because it's too powerful, then you can still get that card, but for less, because now the cost of the card is less, because the market is going to demand it less, because people have more concern that this thing could, because it's so powerful, and Wizards sold it just to chase. Like,
cool, but now it's not a special chase cool card.
Well, here's the thing, and I think this is the bigger. WotC will be more reticent to print a card that is a directly better, like, actually, Chase can meet, but they will be if the RC just says, hey, we're gonna fucking ban this, right? If we say we're gonna print Jewled Lotus +1, the RC has already said, hey, we're willing to ban Jewled Lotus. So when people see Jewled Lotus +1 come out, they're like, oh shit, the RC already banned Jewled Lotus. I don't think I want to chase Jewled Lotus +1, which means that WotC will have to find a different thing for us to chase. Maybe it's Morrow put a golden ticket to come visit our headquarters in a pack, or I signed something, or we put Caracas back. You know, they're going to have to figure out a different.
Well, they've tried different ways. I mean, look at Neon Ink Hitotsugu. I have no interest in that.
Layer.
That card sucks.
No,
I have no
but you
interest
did have
in
interest. You have interest in the Lumra.
Yeah, 100%. That's sick as fuck.
And that's not because it's breaking Commander. It's because it looks sick and is a neat card, right? But Lumra is not. Oh my God, we're going to bat because, like, oh shit, the RC needs to ban Lumber right now.
Okay, well, I mean, but they could.
It can be a chase card. No, why would they do it? I think they can have a chase card and not have it be format breaking.
Right.
Why would they ban saying? Because the cards that got banned, with the exception of Nadu, are like boring design.
Jewled Lotus is boring design.
I don't look at Jewled Lotus.
Yeah, it's terrible design.
Yeah,
that's not boring design. We said boring. Is it terrible or is it boring?
He said boring. I think it's both, but fair enough.
I think it can be terrible design. I don't think it's a boring design. Look, my point is that the powerful cards, the chase rare versions of those, I really like. Jake, do you like them at all, or am I alone in this? I'm getting zero.
No, I mean, you guys are talking a lot, so I'm not really jumping in because there's a lot of different angles.
Gang up on me with them.
No, I'm not. I'm typically in the camp to kill Joel first.
Yeah, I know. That's what's happening.
In this situation. No, I mean, of course I like chase variants. I'm just listening to you guys. I understand what you're saying. You know, I'm like going back and rewinding, and I'm going, you know, what card then would you create? I think this would be my question. What card would you put in Jewled Lotus's place to help move that Commander Legends set that came out way back then?
Right.
I mean, because I do think that being the flagship card of that set, I remember going back then and oohing and ahhing over it. The entire community looked at that Jewled Lotus and went, holy shit, we just got Black Lotus. And what happened? That product flew off the shelves. And then that card was given treatment after treatment after treatment. I thought the card was cool and interesting. I thought it was a very narrow card. I even remember people when that card first came out looking at it and going, oh, it's trash. They were like, oh, this card is not that great.
Work.
It's a Black Lotus for my commander. And you know, shout out to Nitpicking Nerds. I actually agree with Beezy. I think the card early on is super good, and I think late in the game it's hot garbage. It comes out and it's literally a freaking dead draw. So I maintain that ban was not great. I hate playing against Dockside Extortionist, but I also do see the value in people having access to that card that want access to it.
I like when they print cards that make me go, oh my God, which is what Jewled Lotus did. You know?
Yeah, I like that too, but not whenever they are just ubiquitous. Like, I would not want them to create a Jewled Lotus that you sack and you get 5 mana.
Right, but let's talk about design philosophy then. And I'll throw it back to Jake.
I think you can create cool cards.
Sure.
Like I love Prisoner's Dilemma. It is my new favorite Magic card. It is the card from the Nelly Borka precon.
Super fun
people
card.
have to vote. They take damage based off of how
Yeah,
they
yeah,
vote.
yeah.
That is not like a game-breaking card, and I don't think it is like a card that needs to be $100. But like it is like you can design cool shit without that. Jake, to your question, which was like, what card would you put in there? I don't know.
Yeah, I know.
It
was rhetorical.
Yeah,
I like to think that Wizards is creative enough that they could create another card that does not split the community on whether or not it should be banned.
For sure.
But I will point out to you, Jake,
And I think the issue. Oh, sorry. You go ahead and finish. You go ahead and finish. I didn't mean to.
They put that in Commander Legends, and it flew off shelves. And Commander Legends was one of the most successful sets that they've ever made. And then what did they do the very next time they could reprint it? They put it in Commander Masters. They pumped the price up like crazy on those the cards.
Yeah, they upshifted it. Yeah.
And then it was like this, and it was a set that flopped in the initial wave because it was so expensive. And that's why, and because the reason it can be so expensive is because Jewled Lotus could go into any deck. We can talk about whether or not it's functional in some, right? But overall, it is like a card. It's not like a white card or a black card or whatever. You can throw it in.
That's what I was going to say. That's what I was going to say. I think oftentimes when Wizards of the Coast is trying to figure out what card is going to help sell this set, they err on colorless. And the reason they do is because it goes in anything. And so this kind of goes into what Spectre's talking about, is like, he wants them to be more creative and come up with stuff. You know, I just saw super chat, someone asking, you know, like, what makes Jewled Lotus kind of like boring in design? Well, it's like, it's not a boring design. It's a super pushed design that is a head turning design. Yeah. It's something that's going to appeal to everybody because it is colorless and because it does, you know, work for the commander. That's the point of the card. You know, I don't know what card could go in its place. You know, I can't think of, you know, like, is it a one red drop monkey that when it swings in, it's gonna, you know, create a treasure and exile the top card? You know, it has to be something that's insanely pushed, or people aren't going to turn out. They're not going to come out in droves and be like, oh, I need that new hot thing, if it's not new and hot in their opinion.
So
Can I defend myself? Because somebody replied to that and said, it's not, dude has terrible takes.
Oh, I think it's me, but that's
Jake, no. I agree. But Jake, you said it's not boring design. I think if you show Jewled Lotus to a game designer, they would say this is boring design because it does something very simple.
I can't sit here while we sit and call Black Lotus boring design. I'm having a very tough time sitting here and hearing everyone call Black Lotus boring design. This is really tough for me. This is really tough for me.
Joel, we can talk about it. Like, I think Black Lotus is boring design.
Yeah.
It does not change. It is not an interesting effect. It just gives you drop it and you get a little bit more of a resource that you need.
Yeah, it's like, hi, I hate the mana system of Magic, the whole backbone of it. Let me just play Hearthstone to put my commander on the battlefield. Thank you.
I don't want us to cultivate a environment for the designers where they feel like they can't approach the line because the thing is just gonna get nuked. Now we have a fence over there. Got to stay away from the electric fence because we don't want anything. Now we're touchy because the RC is just gonna ban our powerful cards if we overshoot a little bit, because we don't have the power to do that like we do with Nadu. When we make a design mistake, we have the power with Nadu to ban that, but we don't have the power to ban anything in Commander because the RC has that power, not us. So with our designs now, we need to be careful and not push the boundaries and not make super over the top, possibly over the top things, because they might get banned by the RC. I don't like that. I don't like that environment.
Worry about that anyway.
What is that?
People who design the cards are not the ones who are making the BNR decisions internally at Wizards. I keep trying to say Riot. My God, 13 years.
Correct.
But like if you like the people who design Fury are not the ones who are banning it, and I think that person who designed Fury probably should have been like, oh, I should be afraid to print this card.
Yeah, I mean, well, now we're getting into a much deeper discussion that kind of gets into like Nadu territory, right? Because this is a discussion that has to do with having so many sets and having R&D pushed honestly to the brink.
I'll walk it back to my original point, which is responding to Travis saying, I think it's good if the designers have the shadow of the RC looming over them when they're designing.
Very dramatic.
Hang on, you can be dramatic, but I can't be dramatic. Give me a second.
I'm just trying to get through
The
these goddamn
specter
super
of the
chats.
RC
I just want to
looms
get through the
above.
fucking super chat.
And so I don't like the idea.
Please no more super chats.
I don't like the
Please.
idea that it's a good thing that the specter of the RC looms over design and that helps keep them in check. That sounds awful to me. That sounds
I just
awful.
want to say I'm sorry that
what's
he's using your name in a derogatory way.
Is how I love it. I
did
would
try
use
to
my
say
name
the shadow
derogatorily
first,
if
but
I could do it. No. I am looming over and I am raining fucking shit storms. But here's the other part of this is that they just have unbridled. Let's just print whatever we want. Who cares? Like to the moon, all the things that are terrible for the format because no one's gonna stop us.
I think there's a
right?
lot of
That's-
range in between what I'm talking about and
No
what
kidding,
you're
right?
talking about.
From your doom and gloom to what I just said, there's obviously
Ton of space.
a lot of space. Knowing that the RC can potentially do stuff is a good thing. I'm not saying as a looming presence, but like having it be like, yeah, okay,
I mean,
we
I'll
know
tell you
we can.
this. Yeah, in the instance of Wizards of the Coast right now, if they weren't privy to this, which you already know my take on that, I believe that they were,
Sure.
because I
involved.
believe that future sets needed to be cleared, and,
sure.
and I just maintain that you can't take the tinfoil hat off.
For sure.
I do think that in this situation, if Wizards of the Coast is not privy to this information, yes, they're absolutely going, well, fuck. Our marquee cards just all got banned, and people are going to be pissed.
I think it'll be
because
clear.
in the last year, we used LCI and Mana Crypt to pump LCI. We used
Right.
LCI set boxes and Dockside to pump LCI set boxes. We used
Exactly.
Commander Masters and Jewled Lotus was the way that we pumped that, and all the way back to Commander Legends, Jewled Lotus was the marquee card that was like, we just got Black Lotus, everybody.
Right.
Everybody under the sun made a video about it.
And here's the thing, right? Whether they're having that conversation and got blindsided next week and talking about it, or they had that discussion, the same discussion is happening, whereas we need to find new marquee cards and new ways to chase cards for Commander Masters 2. No, like regardless of where it
Yes.
happens in the timeline,
They have to figure it out.
They do.
Which
And
is
I think
why
that is a
I
good-
maintain that the RC existed as a tool to ban cards, so that when we do usher in Buster Sword and Infinity Gauntlet and all these things,
Yeah.
I just believe that the RC needs to be there to be the fall guy for corporate decisions. And I know a lot of people are going to be like, "Oh God, Jake, stop smoking so much freaking reefer." But I do actually, feel that way. I feel like
happened, Jake.
what happened?
At what point do you think the RC, because we all know how Commander started, right? Like judges playing
Yeah.
behind the scenes Elder Dragon Highlander.
Yeah.
Eventually they formed the RC. At what point in time between a group of people deciding to play a game called Elder Dragon Highlander and the banning of Jewled Lotus did WotC infiltrate the RC and make it a puppet state
Travis
for them
is-
to?
Well, I mean, here's
Oh,
the thing.
so
I'll just say
dramatic.
this.
So- so
we already
dramatic.
mentioned that one of these.
So-
looming over the RC.
So
We
dramatic.
We already mentioned at one point that the RC has a Wizards of the Coast employee on it. So
That was it.
I'm
when the
I'm saying
employee
like
got out of there.
one. I really, I think a corporation is going to make sure that they have all of their moving pieces in place for the most part, and I think they need different entities, because I do believe, like you believe, that they do need to be separate things, but I also believe that the RC is ultimately at their mercy and has to clear decisions with them. So I think Wizards of the Coast could, in one theory, have wanted these cards gone, because they're like, look, we're going to be printing another thing that's like Jewled Lotus, and we don't want Jewled Lotus in this thing to be redundant. We don't want there to be another kind of thing.
Why not
But-
wait till after they've sent out the secret lair boxes if they were the ones that decided to clear this decision?
My thought would be that Wizards of the Coast thinks that most people are stupid,
Chris,
and
what's
that
up?
they're not going to put together that the are you talking about the festival in a box?
Festival of
Yeah.
Bucks, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, my thought would be that Wizards thinks that most people are stupid. They're not going to put the pieces together. They also think that we are the internet magic people and that we do not account for the entire group, which they're absolutely correct about.
Dude, that
And most
is
people just
And,
aren't gonna
and
look
we
at
talk
that.
about collecting mostly, and so we're really on the
my,
outside
my
of this
brain
one.
is tinfoil. All right. So under the hat, under the tinfoil hat is tinfoil hair, and under that is a tinfoil scalp, and under that is a tinfoil brain.
Under that is a
Jake,
raisin. One little
I
raisin.
would like
Got that these days, Jake.
I would like to talk about the timing of stuff, because I know that's another
Let's talk
super
about the timing
controversial
after
part.
we catch up on super chats. We're very, very not close
do
to
it.
that.
We're not super close,
You
but
go.
we're on sure 86, $5. Gameplay aside, and even if we're biased sample of Magic players, why would WotC leave so much reprint equity on the table? I think we've talked a lot about this, and I don't think we need to delve in deeper.
That's a good
this
question,
is kind of like
though.
what we're already talking
That's,
about.
that's the core of the issue.
Good question. I think we answered it as
Core of
best
the
we
Yeah.
could.
issue.
Yeah, Dustin89 Clanton with the $5. We appreciate it. If they banned wheels, would it have felt as bad, including a $300 wheel?
Yeah, same,
Like
same
talking
thing
about
as
Wheel of
the
Fortune.
right. Same thing
Yeah.
as the Mana Rocks. If they had chosen representatives like Jewled Lotus, like Mana Crypt that were cheaper cards, I think that they could have accomplished the same thing. Hey, this is the kind of thing. Like if you're talking about these two Mana Rocks being removed is enough of a critical mass move the needle, then two others would do the same thing, I feel like. So I feel like
Yeah.
it's the same thing with the wheel. Like Dark Deal is the feels bad wheel because it doesn't fill your hand all the way back up. You lose a card. Dark Deal is banned. We also think that all the fucking shit wheels should be out of here, but we're banning Dark Deal because it's
Yeah.
bargain bin.
Madamus X, $10. We appreciate the $10. My favorite thing is Mana Crypt has been legal for the entirety of CEDH.
Yes.
And is an old card, and I can't use anywhere in reality. And all of a sudden, because they power crept everything else, it's now a problem. Yeah, I mean it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
it's why
exactly right.
Soren got hit in Pioneer, right? Soren's was like in what, 2011, M11 he came out,
Yeah.
and the reasoning was, hey,
Great card.
we want to print some dope ass vampires,
Right.
and we ain't stopping.
Yeah, exactly.
So buy Soren.
I mean, we've
Yeah,
we've
that's what
talked about it
happens
on
is
the channel. It's like,
every-
those are buy
Yeah.
targets,
Yeah.
cards that seem way too specific from the past, that are chill, that are like nothing
Yeah.
right now. But like, if that one thing is printed, that's where you look for like
Yeah.
cards that are going
They
to pop.
ban.
for a long
They
time.
ban the enabler. That's what they do.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think
Oh,
Commander's been speeding up for a long time. It's been
For
getting
sure.
faster and faster. Everybody's been talking about that.
For sure.
And if you're the RC and you're looking at this thing
Graham, what's
getting
up?
faster and faster, what are you going to do? You're going to look
Start
to things that are
talking
accelerants.
about banning fast mana a year in
Hey, we got
advance
super
of
chats.
making
Jake, sorry,
any
we got more
choices.
super chats. Jake. We got to get to
Yeah.
this.
If you want to ban, if they want to print cheap stuff with Ward, then they're gonna ban the fast mana. We've just seen it. It happened on Monday.
Mhm.
Sensei pause with $5. Why is Rule 0 a thing if we're banning cards? I feel like, well, I mean, we've talked about this ad nauseum at this
Ooh,
point.
That's
but
a big question, though.
I feel like the CRC's ban is their Rule 0 that they're forcing on the community. Well, unfortunately, what happens is when they make a decision, they change the legality on Scryfall, and so when people look up that card and you go on Scryfall, it says banned, and people, they pay attention to it. Siegel, God bless you, just gives us $5. We appreciate it.
Best super chat.
That was a good one. John with the $10. John Samard. We appreciate the $10. The problem with EDH is that the format was never meant for mass adoption. It was meant to be played in insular groups who are internally agreed upon by their own rules and engagement. You know, I think so, but what ended up happening with Commander is that it gave life to a bunch of unused cards. Wizards of the Coast saw, ooh, that's cool. This is something that appeals to a lot of people. And then they turned it into their cash cow.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
Did you read Skullzig's here? Super chat at $50. The RC's interacting with the market, whether they like it or not.
did I accidentally?
Between
Did I
Sensei,
somehow-
Pause, and Siegel. The RC, Skullzig with the $50 super chat said the
Yeah,
RC's
we really
interacting.
appreciate the $50. Thank
with-
you.
That.
The
Of
RC's
course, that's the
interacting
one
with a
you noticed,
market,
Joel.
regardless of if they choose to acknowledge it or not. Ignoring the impact that these changes have on the secondary market is reckless. This is an unspoken compact with it. Yes, I completely agree. The recklessness is the part that I hate the most. That's got me the most
And they've acknowledged
salty
that,
about
by the way.
this.
Yeah.
Oh no. Absolutely, they did.
Thank you again for the $50. That's super generous. We appreciate all of you tonight. There are a ton of supers, way more than we typically get. And I'm sure that's because a lot of you are trying to get your thoughts out there. And there are a ton of people in chat. And so we do appreciate all of you. If you are enjoying the stream, please subscribe. Come back in the future. Jeremy Clark, $5. The one and only issue is that 2 major sets were entirely marketed with Crypt. Yes,
Correct.
100%. I'm here for you, buddy. I'm here for you.
With you.
Yeah, we're with you on that.
Travis is not. We are.
Yakuza 7792 with $10.
I disagree completely.
Jake and Joel, continue to stand your ground. YouTube for your best efforts and rep all the community versus dismissing those harmed by this ban like many other creators. I do think a lot of creators may have pulled their punches, but I think a lot of them actually feel the way that they feel. And a lot of them liked it. As you can see, we have Spectre and Travis here that although they may have disagreed with the execution, they like the bans.
Yeah.
So
and we're not saying that you weren't financially impacted.
Correct.
We get that.
Correct.
That sucks.
Yeah. Well,
Yes.
you can also sit here and agree with us or disagree with us without being like you're invalid, which we have seen a lot across the last 2 days.
there's been a lot of people that are like,
oh, dude, the
you lost your money.
Bro,
and
the
it's
Schadenfreude has been sickening, absolutely ridiculous. It's
to the moon.
so
Who would
wild
do such a thing?
to see people out of one side of their mouth talk about inclusivity and care and not dismissing people's takes and opinions and feelings, and then as soon as something happens that they're like, oh, I didn't have these cards, fuck those guys. That is just really annoying.
Yeah,
and
I agree.
sad
Fuck
to me.
Travis.
Yeah.
It's just sad to me.
Dylan.
I wish that the
Look at that
Schadenfreude
guy.
hadn't been so thick with this one. I wish that everybody could understand that just like they want to play the game their way, I want to play the game my way. And
Crazy.
it's really obnoxious when a unilateral choice, it feels like a unilateral choice is made that didn't take my slice of the pie into account. That's just obnoxious.
We are super close to being through these, and then I want to talk about game pieces with you guys.
Yeah.
Because I just want to talk about the philosophy of game pieces. Dylan, Wizards knew about all the possible bans before they were releasing the sets with the cards in them for sure. The RC basically said that. I would like to touch on that and the language of that. So if we could find like a link for that, I'd like to see the language. Rotten Agenda with $10. We appreciate you with your 5th super chat here. Maybe I'm off, but Black Lotus is like the poster child of MTG. Jewled Lotus is the modern day equivalent of the current premier format. Jewled Lotus is obtainable in current packs. Banning it just feels bad. I can kind of see this take because it's like available and in a recent set. We've talked about it.
Yeah. Stepping back real fast, Dylan's point about Wizards knew about the possible bans before they were releasing sets. This is true. This is Jim said this. He said that they had, when trying to prove that they weren't taking this conversation lightly, he said that they have been talking to Wizards for over a year. That's a direct quote.
Right.
They have been talking to
we
Wizards
also don't
for over a
know
year. Right.
where that's at, right?
Josh
they
Lee
could have been like, hey,
could
we're
have gotten
thinking
a question in a survey that was like, what do you think about fast
Right.
mana? And they considered that talking to Josh about fast mana.
talking to it, right?
So it could mean a lot of things,
just
but they have been
exactly
aware that this was
Just-
a conversation since the
Right.
marketing,
which is
since
still
the marketing
a
went
year
out.
is still a year too late to stop print runs too, right?
Oh,
Like,
100%. There's nothing. Again,
No, I know you get it. I'm trying to
Communication.
tell chat,
Oh, I see.
like, hey, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
don't take, Jim knew and he told the Watts, like,
Right,
they
yeah.
absolutely are. It was like, look, guys, this bureaucracy happens so slow, you know?
Joe,
Are you guys
I
in the
have to
channel
take a really
chat?
quick bio. Can you read these last
Absolutely.
couple here? I'll be right back.
Rotten Agenda, we got you. Thanks, man. Komataj. Oh man, he walked away before he gave me this name to pronounce. Komataj McDuff. Comertage is the sanctum of the Sorcerer Supreme, so I'm just going to pronounce it Comertage. McDuff, super chat of California $5. California $5 said, could one not argue that Jeweled and Crypt are banned for the same reason as Black Lotus and OG Moxes, just huge resource advantages? Yeah, maybe.
One can argue anything.
Yeah, one can argue that. The Black Lotus write-up on the website says that it's a prohibitively expensive card, and that is all it says. Besides being way powerful, but prohibitively expensive is the reason given for
I
its ban.
cast $14,000.
Yeah, exactly. Bob Thor super chatted $20 to ask, can you explain how Jewled Lotus is terrible and boring design?
Yes,
We
I
talked
can.
about that.
Yeah, we talked.
addressed that was what we talked about.
We talked about that one. Matt with the $5. This is the same group that begged WotC not to print Mother of Machines, but we're trusting them with this decision. Mother of Machines was a single rules committee member's opinion in an opinion article, and was never an official opinion of the rules committee, to the best of my knowledge. And so
That's accurate.
I do remember. What'd you say?
I said that's accurate.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so I do remember that it caused a wrinkle when the opinion piece was posted, but it was confirmed as just an opinion piece. They've never acknowledged it as a watchable card. They've never, it was just that person speaking to their philosophy of what designed for Commander or Commander designs should be. John Soul, super chat of $5, said both Hellkite Tyrant and Dockside are more effective turn 4 and on. Hellkite is more backbreaking IMO.
Are you guys seeing the production chat, by the way, or the channel chat?
I don't think we need to defend the powerful levels of Dockside Extortionist.
Yeah.
You can think that Hellkite Tyrant is more powerful, more power to you, but I don't think anyone's going to say Dockside was a chump of a card.
Yeah, we're watching both chats, or trying to. Yeah.
No, sorry, I was talking about the JAJAM production room because I've been trying to talk to you guys in there.
Yeah.
Apologies.
Stream.
Gotcha.
Oh, you're good. Yeah, no,
The way I'm
while they're
designed, I
reading
can't do that. Just because of the production over here.
Oh, audio broadcast is low.
Oh, that was early at the beginning of the thing.
Got it.
I'll just say it here. I know you guys need to do sponsor shoutouts at some point in time, so I want to be
absolutely.
also.
Oh no, we'll
cognizant of
take
that.
we'll take
We'll
care of
get it
that
going.
at some point.
This is one that we've kind of separated from sponsors anyway, so
That's fine.
I got you.
Yeah.
Arturo, so Hellkite Tyrant is a powerful card, but we're not in the same arena, y'all. Hellkite Tyrant and Dockside, I've never seen a Commander game devolve into a fight over a Hellkite Tyrant. I'll put it that way. But I have seen many Commander games devolve into a fight and copies of Dockside Extortionist. Arturo said, what if the WotC and RC are in lockstep to throttle legendaries using more colored pips? Lotus had to be axed to make this work. I doubt that RC has any bearing on their designs whatsoever, past being a looming shadow of Travis's terror
It's a looming
campaigns.
specter. It's a looming specter.
Yeah, at this point, if anything, their decisions are going to make WotC think twice about stuff if they're not connected, which you all know I think it is.
Dylan with the California 5 said Jewled Lotus was designed as a throwback and they made it very narrow for a reason. Agree. They maybe could have printed something like Exile It when you.
I liked how narrow it was.
Yeah. I liked that card. I don't know if anybody was aware of that. The state of Standard and Modern has been so egregiously pushed the last few years and pushed out so many players that they should be forced to think more carefully and stop with all the blatant power creep and cash grabs.
Yes to Modern, no to Standard. Standard's the best it's ever been so far. It's got more players than ever. You can think that it's more pushed, but numbers-wise, tons of people are playing Standard.
But it might be pushed and design. We're talking
might
about
be
design.
pushed.
Travis and a whole bunch of people recently got into Standard. I know you've been enjoying it, haven't you?
Oh yeah. That was when you were sick. We talked about it.
I'm not saying it's not pushed or not, but to say it's pushing people out, more people than ever are playing Standard right now.
By the way, there's a turn 1 kill on Standard. I don't know if you guys saw that video.
Yeah, I saw that video earlier today.
With Leyline.
Yeah, double Leyline.
Wow.
Yeah,
Thank you for that $20. We appreciate you.
Sight. I do want to say they should be forced to think more carefully and stop with all the blatant power creep and cash grabs. I understand that, and I agree.
Iron sight.
Obviously,
That's what it is.
we've criticized a lot of WotC's decisions before.
Yeah.
But should be forced to think more carefully and stop with all the blatant power creep. They're not going to. So, I mean, we can all wish for that and say, oh man, Travis standing behind all the designers with a cannon is going to keep them from making push cards. It's not.
They are not going to print a Jewled Lotus that gives you 4 mana now after this got banned.
They were never going to print a Jewled Lotus that gave you 4 mana.
Not now.
Surely not now, but also not then. It's a Mitch Hedberg joke.
There's gonna be a commander that's gonna be Ward sacrifice Jewled Lotus.
I don't even think they would do middle Lotus. I don't think they would do a zero Lotus that sacks for 2 for just your commander.
Joel, how many cards have you seen in the last couple of years that you would not believe they would have printed 10 years ago?
I mean, an absolute shit ton.
Yeah, a ton.
Yeah.
You never know, right?
Yeah, I mean, I did say it would be absolutely the stupidest thing ever if they banned Mana Crypt, and they did.
What does Infernal Plunge do? Is it like sack a creature and then you get 4 red? Is that what it is?
Yeah, so
What is that card?
Yeah, I think, obviously, I don't think any designer over there sits and, you know, when they were designing Jewled Lotus, I remember Gavin's tweet. He tweeted the image. He said, "It's a Black Lotus for your commander." Enough said. They were excited. They obviously went through some kind of process over there designing the stuff. They didn't think they were I don't think the intention is ever to like make some insane thing that's going to break it. Even with Nadu, the article was like, for shit reasons, but we didn't think it was broken.
Yeah.
And so I just really don't want, I would rather them try to push the envelope and miss, quite honestly, as long as they're going to act, which WotC doesn't have the power to do with the commander ban list. They could maintain it themselves, but some people, think that's a conflict of interest. I think that's a better way of doing things and lets the designers more freely design cards for a fun format that's supposed to be ridiculously overpowered anyway. Anyway,
the designers already have to deal with the fact that what they make could get banned.
Yeah. Exactly.
So the argument that not having the RC helps them now print crazy shit without having to worry about it.
That's not my argument. I was counter arguing to you saying that the RC will now keep them from doing that with this act. That was your discussion. You said this act will now encourage designers to think twice. I said
the SNL skit that's
those bad.
Are your words.
Yeah, I'm just saying. Don't tell me that your argument's my argument now, dog. I'm arguing the opposite side, brother.
Really quick pinch hit hero $2, and Colonel pinch hit hero says, but what about turn 2 wins from Red Line ban?
Good luck, everybody.
And then Colonel C with the $2 says, imagine being Post Malone if the ring gets banned. Yeah, I don't think that gets affected much. It would just be a notorious kind of thing,
if Post Malone, the ring gets banned, I'm pretty sure he's going to be like, damn, that sucks, and then he'll smoke a joint and go on stage, and that's right. He'll go on with his
ring. His accountant already scolded him. He's taking his licks.
I would love to imagine being Post Malone with the ring getting banned. That sounds like a great life.
I feel like it goes up in price almost.
That's what I'm thinking. What I'm thinking.
Because now
we're completely caught up. Holy shit!
They're definitely never reprinting it, right? So now it just goes up.
I've got about 15 more minutes before my food is here, and I can't do it.
And then you're done. That sounds good. Let's start this conversation because I want to talk about this, and I see it all the time. And I'm just going to give you my take really quick, and then you guys can kind of start discussing it. When Joel gets here, he can fill in the blanks.
Sounds good.
Discussing game pieces, because we see this a lot. Oh, they're game pieces. You shouldn't be getting this bent out of shape on game pieces. When I think game pieces, what I think about game pieces is I'm buying a board game and it's got everything I need in it. I'm buying Monopoly and it's got the board, it's got the dice, it's got the little things that I put around the board. It's hard for me to view something as a game piece when it comes out and is printed at such a high frequency. I don't really feel like there's ever completing it. And so people saying, oh, game pieces need to be, worth, all the same thing. No card should be worth more than $5, that kind of thing. I don't think Wizards of the Coast is effectively able to sell products, even like the baseline thing, which is like $130, $150, or some LGSs charge $170 or $180 just for a play box. I feel like if all the cards are $5, then everybody is just going to go ahead and buy singles, and there's no real reason to open any boxes. And so I think the game piece argument is kind of diminishes kind of like what our game is and kind of like how all of these people felt when their cards were nuked in price a couple days ago. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't disagree. I like WotC almost folded. That's why Hasbro, like, before we had any of the booster fun and collect, like, the game almost up and ended. We've seen how many TCGs just go the way of the dodo bird because
a billion.
So many. I got it right here.
It's insane.
This game is game is awesome. This game is so much fun to play. It's dead. You can't.
I've got 4 Keyforge decks in my closet back there. That game lost its algorithm that let it make more decks. That game didn't just die. That game's AI went to a different existence. It just left.
Right?
Yeah, I've seen a few dead TCGs. There was one they can try to convince us that the good cards needed to travel with 2 dice in every single one. That was Unlimited Star Wars dice game. I can't remember what it was called.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, Duel of Fates? No, it was.
I can't remember what it was.
Yeah.
I think you would have a hard time finding someone who earnestly believes that all Magic cards should be super cheap. I know they're out there, but like I think that generally speaking, when you hear people talk about like this type of sentiment around, hey, you should, like, they push back against like the financial component of Magic.
Yeah.
I think they're usually doing it for two different reasons. One, Wizards continues to figure out ways to get people who really like this game to spend inordinate amounts of money on it. And they price cards like Jewled Lotus and Mana Crypt in ways while they refuse to acknowledge the secondary market, but they are implicitly acknowledging it by doing things like putting Mana Crypt into a special slot and Jewled Lotus
always at Mythic.
Right. So like, I think some of it is a little predatory, but obviously we love part of the chase, right? So if there's, right?
People are generally saying, like, I think what the best situation is when there's like a push and pull in both directions, and we end up in a place where the game is hopefully approachable for many people and still fun to be drafting and being like, ooh, I'm really happy. I like got this out of a draft pack, or I got this out of my prizing or something like that.
Right.
Yeah,
because it's super cool that the One Ring is such an awesome card, and variants of it demand so much money, right? It sucks that you need to spend $400 to play 53% of the meta decks in Modern.
Chad,
right?
just ask a poll. I wanna know this real quick, because we're talking about the collectability and the value of cards as a foundational aspect of the game. I want to know, I just asked a poll, does your first MTG story, or what you consider as what got you hooked on MTG, does that involve the pull of some cool card, some amazing card, some card you just were like, oh, this is dope as hell? Could be something you found out later was trash, but the pull of a cool card. I'm interested how many of who's watching tonight that involves the base. That's the beginning of their MTG story.
So to kind of wrap up this thing, because I said
about
one
game
reason
pieces,
is the costs are big. I think the other reason why people talk about the game piece thing is because there is a bit of an exhaustion of. I can understand why somebody who just enjoys playing the game gets frustrated when there's so much strong community sentiment and feedback around, oh, you can't ban these because my collection went down in value, or you like, oh, this card is really good, and now Wizards is going to now hoard it like a dragon and only drip feed it out to people in ways that like incentivize them to spend. Like, I can understand. I think that is reasonable, and I think that's why you sometimes hear people talk about the game piece thing, where they're frustrated, where they're like, man, I just enjoy playing the game. I just enjoy sitting down with friends. I just enjoy doing a draft.
Yeah.
I want to play like a Modern deck. Why does it cost me $2,000 to get into Modern whenever a lot of people are making, 40 grand, 45 grand a year, that type of stuff.
Super understandable.
I think that's where a lot of that stuff comes from. And so I just wish that there was a little bit more sympathy and empathy on both sides, where people who are like, man, I just want to play the game, can understand how frustrating it is for somebody else who might just want to play the game, got a card they're really excited about for their CEDH deck, and now feel like the money that they spent was wasted. And on the other end, where people can understand, oh, yeah, it is probably really frustrating to hear all these people who are software engineers or people who are in really great situations. Rudy sitting on his pile of boxes being like, oh no, my cards are less valuable now.
Absolutely.
I mean, he's like managing probably like $50 million with all of his different assets and stuff. God knows. He's a very hard man to relate to, even as someone who's into Magic collecting.
Sure. But that exact reason is that exact take, Travis, is part of the entire problem with today and yesterday, the day before, is the fact that it feels like it's just all got to be divided down. It can either be one thing or the other thing. You can't have both. I spent a lot of time on Twitter yesterday in particular assuring people that you can have two different truths. You can hold those at the same time. It's wild. I can say good ban for the reasons that the RC exists and their proposed mission statement. I understand what the idea was and what they were going for. Got it. They picked the wrong cards and they didn't have a good process, and it was super irresponsible.
It was very jarring.
Also true.
Because now
also
days later, I get it, man. I understand their reasoning. I do. I get it. If Wizards of the Coast is gonna print busted ass shit that if it lands down on turn 1, you want to cut down those redundant pieces so that it happens less. Like, I understand it. The issue was the blind side of it, and that I will not agree with. And Joel said this earlier. I don't know if he said it on stream or before stream, but he's like, I can forgive, but I will never forget.
Correct.
And so if it does come in like such a way with like, because we have to move on.
It's the only choice.
Unless you're quitting the game,
right?
You're either going to move on.
It's the only choice.
You're either quitting the game, or you're moving on.
Correct.
Or you're dropping everything in your life and you're going and you're picketing. And you're going to stand outside the building.
Stand outside what building is a good first question.
I mean, find a building to stand outside, and you're going to film it and post it on social media or something.
I think people were also just a little too maybe oblivious to the fact that the format that they play the most of does indeed include a ban list. Just because we haven't touched it in a while, right? Doesn't mean that we haven't been playing with there's a ton of cards we haven't been playing with, because they've been banned, and no one ever said that, oh, we're done forever. Bans are never happening.
This is the first time any card has been banned in Commander since I started playing Magic.
I'm sure. And that is going to be true, I would guess, of 90% of the people that play Commander. I would be shocked. That's a little high. I would be shocked, though.
Maybe Hull Breacher was the first.
Yeah,
for me,
that was 19,
was
right?
Prime Time.
Oh.
I remember when Prime Time got banned, and people were like, "Holy shit, Prime Time!" But then they were like, "Yeah, that makes sense."
Yeah, it makes sense. I was around for the Golos ban.
A lot of people being mad about Prime Time.
No, well, because none of this was expensive is the issue. Were these cards $5? People were like, dang, maybe we have half a day of discourse.
I think there were some people upset about. A lot of people upset about.
Yeah.
I told Jake earlier, but I got to run in about 5 minutes.
Okay,
we'll be
no worries. No worries.
3-hour mark, I mean.
Travis, we do appreciate you being on very much. And again, everybody here, there are still over 900 of you watching. Before we do say goodbye to Travis one more time, Travis, do you want to tell everybody about yourself and
final thoughts?
Born in 1989.
Closing statements.
Are we the same age?
Yeah, I think you, me, and Joel are all the same age.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, I'm the old man here.
And then there's that's what's been happening during the shows. We've all been arguing. Jake's just
Jake, you look way better than I was.
Yeah,
I'm an old man. Thankfully, my ancestry is in the Baltic region, and so I've aged like a vampire.
Yeah.
So.
No, I normally cover League of Legends esports. I'm actually leaving to Berlin on Saturday.
Annie says bye, Travis.
Oh, goodbye, Annie. I'll be leaving to Berlin on Saturday, where I'll be covering the League of Legends World Championships. So if you have a passing interest in League or League esports, you can just Google my name. You'll find.
Worlds is in a different place every year?
It's in Europe.
Of the world, even.
Nice.
It switches between 4 different. Switches between Europe, North America, China, and Korea.
I assumed hilarious, Spectre, but I assumed that
Worlds only exists in the United States.
They would have like a big arena that was one place, you know, and everybody just meets there. I mean,
No.
our Worlds is at Vegas every year, so
It's true.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah,
that's
but that's
cool.
because your company is not. It doesn't have enough specters hanging out over the top of them.
I need you standing behind the design team with a cannon filled with pop rocks, so that when they hit them in the back, they don't cause any damage, but they all go if they touch water.
So, but I also have a randomly updated Magic the Gathering channel. If you liked my opinions here, you can go follow it. It's Travis Gafford MTG. If you don't like my opinions, please don't go there because I already deal with enough flack from the league fans.
Don't harass anybody, y'all. This is the fact that these two came on specifically to disagree is why is the value that they offered you tonight, and whether you agreed with them at all, they both offered you a ton of value.
Food Time just linked Travis's channel as well. If you are in chat and you want to go over there and subscribe and come back, and then after the stream ends, go back there and watch some videos.
We like to be disagreed with. I think that everyone should like to be disagreed with in a reasonable manner.
At the end of my appearance on the stream, we would find out if I got a Jewled Lotus and my
that's from Festival in a Box.
Let's find out if it's all Joel.
Travis, thank you for being
you have the floor. I'm giving you the whole screen, Trav.
And then we're going to tell you about our friend Spectre here.
If I get a Jewled Lotus in this, my opinion on everything has changed, and I want the RC gone.
See, that's all it takes. One big pull, and you come over to our side, baby. Get down here with the nasty little speculators.
Sorry for how the camera and everything is not. This is not.
All right, so
you're looking good.
So I know that a bunch of folks are hoping for the Jewled Lotus, but I'm honestly hoping that you get like deflecting SWAT, foil, fierce guardianship, and you have some stuff that you can play at least.
That would be great. I mean, that would definitely prove out the idea that these packs are still worth something.
Yeah.
All right, we got we're now at the basic. We got a planes. Ooh, nice little command tower. I like this art a lot.
What do we think? Did they ban command tower?
Boring and terrible design command tower.
I can't believe that land just goes in every deck, banned.
Fact or fiction? Okay.
Fact. Love that card.
Actually, I think command tower, it defies physics.
Generous gift.
You don't need it.
Love that card too.
I think a Jewled Lotus works in more decks than a command. There's no need to put it in a mono deck, man. Ooh, spectator seating. Nice. Land.
Playable.
There you go. Playable card.
Stitcher Girl.
Stitcher Girl.
Yeah,
come on.
That's the one. That's the push design we're looking for.
Oh, this is that Eldrazi card that I think popped off.
Oh, that's good.
New Eldrazi one. This is
good.
Rise of the Eldrazi. Yeah.
I actually need that.
Well, maybe we can trade.
Yeah.
Insurrection.
Rise of the
I
Eldrazi
like
is
that.
6.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
And then
Morphon.
No, Morphon.
Instead, you have a good commander.
Yeah.
Well, maybe
Sorry,
there's
no
still
J-Lo.
value in these
All right,
packs
Jake.
after all. Maybe it wasn't it.
I've got these right here.
Oh, we got some more to do.
Do it.
I just happen to have
Do
our
it.
packs next to my desk. No, we're not opening those on the stream. We have not determined that is how we're using those packs.
I just want to be. If you guys want to watch a man who's willing to risk it all on stream, come to my channel because Joel's unwilling to. You know.
Correct.
Travis, thank you though so much for being on tonight. We really do seriously love getting your takes, and thank you for taking your time. I know that this has been like a 3-hour stream, so to you and to Spectre, thank you guys both for being here.
Who's got a discount on the Rise of the Eldrazi with that statement? Also, I want to give a shout out to Sushi Yum Yums for their $50.01.
Holy shit!
Yeah,
going for the Monarch. Can we get a Monarch going for Sushi here?
Oh,
you know what I'm saying?
yeah.
I don't think Jake and Joel lost any money on this ban.
Skolzig
I think they made a lot of money on this ban.
We have not lost any money. I've been very upfront that I own one Jewled Lotus in a frame. I don't own a Mana Crypt, and I own one Dockside.
How much money you guys made on this.
I get it. The community has been very generous tonight.
Travis,
Bye, Trav.
thank you for hanging out. See you, man.
Spec.
Sushi with the $50 really quick. Been a while. Opened a game store October last year and opened my second one in 2 weeks. Summit Company. Only lost one Mana Crypt, but a friend store wiped 10K in value. Damn, sorry to hear that. I'm okay with the bans, though. I told my players to... Oh, Colorado. Summit, Colorado. Jesus. I told my players to practice new deck building skills.
I mean, I looked through my collection, and I don't own those, but I own $17,000 in bulk, so I kind of know how this feels. If your cards are worth nothing, I know.
So also big thank you to our friend Spectre this evening. Spectre, why don't you go ahead and let people know about your channel?
Sorry, my mic was garbage today. Chat. My channel.
Right. We are going to hold it against you forever, and it's going to make cutting any of this into clips awful. We're just going to remove you from the combo.
Yeah, that might be best. Food Time, thank you for linking my channel. We cover EVs of sets and stuff, and secret layers and that thing, and I give terrible takes on any channel that'll have me.
I wouldn't say your takes are terrible. I think you had some really good points. I would be lying if I said it was hard for me to see the perspective. It is all in the perspective of the bands. It is all in the execution of them.
Sure.
And I do believe in the rule zero conversation that should exist among players. I think a lot of this ended up being poor communication from players with each other that led to this. If I'm sitting down with you guys and I don't know you, and you say to me, hey, you want to get a game? Yeah, dude, let's get a game. What power level are we thinking? Oh, this is just some junk. I'm playing this weird thing. And then turn one, you're like Soul Ring Signet Mana Crypt. I'm like, you're a piece of shit and you just misled me. Not really, but seriously, I don't like to have my time wasted.
Yeah.
Sometimes when I'm playing on Rocket League, I'm playing against somebody that's obviously a Smurf. And when I'm playing against a Smurf, my biggest issue with the Smurf is that you're wasting everybody's time. You're not on your main account, or you're boosting, or for one reason or another, you are wasting everyone's time. And so if I've been misled, which is essentially what a Smurf is, right? A Smurf is somebody who's like, you're playing on an account and your MMR is different than what it should be, and now what's going to happen is everybody's going to get crushed, and even your teammate isn't getting better because you're like air dribbling and doing the entire thing. It's kind of like what happens if you mislead somebody at a commander table. You're essentially smurfing. If you're saying, here's my deck that has all of these high power pieces, and I'm sitting down and the social contract is we're all just playing like power level 5 to 7. If you're playing all of these cards that are extremely powerful, I think this is where the communication fell on the players, and people not being able to clearly identify power level, clearly identify their decks. And then what happened is because players couldn't police this themselves, it had to be a sweeping ban. And so I get that perspective. I hate the execution. I hate that people feel fleeced and rug pulled, and that all of the cards were banned in such a way that, like Joel was saying, we had no chance to respond. Nothing was ever put on a watch list. Hey, we're banning Dockside, and we're looking at J-Lo, we're looking at fast mana. If they said we're banning Dockside and we're looking at fast mana, then people can be like, what do we think about the fast mana thing? And then when it happens, people aren't blindsided.
Yeah,
they're going
so to an extent, right? Because obviously this ban announced went out, a ton of people heard about it, but I would argue that a majority of Commander players don't actually know that this has happened yet, right?
I would agree.
Because we're internet magicians.
By the next week or two, I would say that the majority will have known, but I would agree. Within the first 3 days, it's only going to be us.
Right, but let's say they said, hey, we're keeping an eye on Mana Crypt, right? And then say nothing for 6 months. The bulk of the community doesn't know. They don't do anything. So everyone that does know about it, let's say because they just saw a ban just happen, they all offload. So someone is left holding the bag, right? Maybe it's not us specifically. Probably it's just more LGS hurt, right? Maybe it's more newer players get it.
Sushi said no matter LGS, their friends LGS lost 10 grand.
Right?
That sucks, man. And I see everybody on Twitter.
For the LGS, that is actual money, because all of us who are holding cards and sitting in a binder,
we're never
these people exist to sell shit.
And there are arguments to be made about diversifying, about but that all feels very victim blamey to me.
Yeah.
When we're looking at a decision that was made outside of what they had sort of socially contracted our agreement to be.
Sure. So I'm not saying good communication. I'm just saying no matter what, someone that isn't WotC is back.
Right.
And it's going to be a community member or yeah. Exactly.
Kikoshi, I'm with you. Scary face, dread face at LGS is investing. I agree. If I was a store, we wouldn't have an investment portfolio. That's not what it's about here. We would be looking for
if you do,
liquid stuff we can constantly churn, bro.
Right. But like you can have stuff that can go to 0 and you're okay. Like speccing is fine if you're not over leveraged in it.
Stores in chat. I know there are some stores in chat.
Right.
Please give us your take right now. Say I'm a store and just tell us how it's gone for you. Even if it's like this shit hasn't affected me at all, y'all are idiots. That's what I want to hear right now, honestly.
Right. I mean, because we see some Twitter posts, right? And you see a guy, Dockside, a Jewled Lotus, one of each, right? And they're like, man, I got screwed, right? And it's like, yeah, I feel that. And then you see the people's like, oh, all 12 of my mana crypts got hit. And we're like, brother.
Like, what's going on, dude?
At what point is a little this on you?
Did you need one in all 12 commander decks, brother?
Yeah. Darth says, I have a store, I lost 38K.
Jesus, Darth, you gotta outline.
That's brutal, man.
Darth, you gotta outline how that happened. I need to know, man. Not to judge or anything. There's a story behind that, and so
And as I said, obviously I like these bands from a gameplay stance.
Yeah, that's one person in chat. So anybody that was on Twitter saying it's gonna be $100,000 that gets lost is an absolute ludicrous clown. We need to buy them some clown shit.
Oh, dude, Bateman was the first one that I saw do the math on it, and I was like, this is good. I'm gonna do math on our video, and that's why we did math on the video yesterday, was because let's just like really quickly scratch the surface and see where we land, and then understand why we don't have to talk about it any further, because it's so far out of the realm of ridiculousness to go hundreds of thousands were lost.
I mean, if we're talking personal collections, right? Wishy-washy in terms.
No.
As you said, so many of our things we never saw. In terms of LGSs, oh god.
And I get that it's unrealized losses. We can all get into all of our economics degrees that we're sitting here with.
My TCG app doesn't say it's an unrealized loss.
Mine actually does say an economics degree. You can fuck off.
You're the only one. I was making fun of the fact that I'm sitting here with a theater degree talking about financial anything.
No, I know.
I'm the first to make fun of myself.
Though, got a feeling it will unban. Yeah, I've been closely monitoring the price of a lot of these cards. There is part of me that wants to pick up a cheap mana crypt for Cube. If it's one of these cards that doesn't get printed again because it is banned, I do think it's one of those kind of things that people be interested in.
Hang on, I want to address this though. Buying up Lotus though, got a feeling it will unban. Darth, personally, I completely disagree with you. Yesterday, I was kind of starting to lean toward, oh wow, maybe this could get walked back. But after them saying in their FAQ that it's absolutely not going to be, and say it's the same thing as like right now, this is all super fucked up, but fine, we'll move on, whatever. But if it happens again, ridiculousness. It's the same thing. It's the same thing with unbans. Like right now, if they were to unban, it's like Jake said, it erodes everything. It's completely dissolved. By basically unbanning
Bobby
at this point.
Bobby Z used to be somebody over here, but Bobby Z had a huge position of Commander Legends boxes because he just saw those being like really good in the long term. They just nuked the card from that. There's like other stuff in there like Commander's Plate and a couple other cards that are cool.
Yeah, he's riding on Sakashima now.
Yeah, you're riding on Sakashima.
The different thrones, whatever those are.
It's pretty rough.
So I am now firmly in, and I've gone back and forth. I'm on video, I'm on record as having gone back and forth. I am now firmly in team. This will never be walked back. Mana Crypt is gone. Jewled Lotus is gone. Dockside deserved it, and there was also Nadu. This won't be walked back. That's my opinion at this point. There's no
Nadu's like
absolute.
I just spread my wings.
Yeah, I know. I'm over here bemoaning Jewled Lotus just because I love it so much.
It's like when Faithless Looting died
Nadu
for
lovers
the
in
sins
chat
of
are like, "What the
Hogak."
fuck, Joel?"
No,
You're being
Faithless
such a
Looting
dick.
died because it's a freaking broken card.
Look,
Faithless Looting
food
just
time.
enabled way too much shit.
Mod on the channel,
Phoenix
first ever mod on the channel, Food Time, has been waiting patiently, asked if he could come on and give his take. We are going to bring Food in right now. Food, can you hear us?
Yeah, yes. Oh my God, I heard everything double.
Completely caught
hey,
you by
Food.
surprise. What's up, Food? How you doing, buddy?
Pretty good. Chat has been both amazing and
wild,
Brody,
right?
Jack, all of you guys have been crushing it tonight. Thank you all.
Insane-o, man. So
man, thank
good.
you for running the chat here.
So
for sure.
Your
Most
take,
people-
brother. You've been hitting everybody with the timeouts and the deletes. Hit them with your takes.
So I actually like the way they did the ban, which I think is the opposite of everybody.
What are you referring to? You like the way they did what?
Not giving anyone any heads up, I think was actually totally fine. Because if they had given people heads up, right? Like, hey, we're looking at this, just like Spec was saying. Basically, I agree with everything he said.
Yeah.
That a bunch of random people who don't go online, who don't know about the rules committee, who don't know about the cards potentially being banned, are going to buy these cards, and then they'll feel bad. And it's like if you were ever a kid playing Magic, I was a kid playing Magic. I traded a Force of Will for some like shitty Zendikar rares because I didn't know at the time that card was like $100, right? That's like kind of the same situation, right? You're taking advantage of these people that don't know any better.
Yeah, I see. And I don't disagree that can happen, but my rebuttal to that is look at the One Ring's chart right now. The One Ring was called by the people who just rotated and nuked their format, just called a problem, just called a watch list without, because they don't have an official one. They said everything but saying it's on the watch list, and that price is holding. However, we all have the decision to make. We can decide right now. Jake can go, wow, I have this insanely crazy version of this card. Do I think they're going to ban it? I guess I have to decide for myself with the information. But at least he's having that conversation with himself. If it happens out of nowhere, he's never, ever given the option.
I think that's a little different for the One Ring. That's mostly a problem in Modern, where cards do get banned often, and people that play Modern are a little more invested in Magic than the casual.
Well, and here's the issue with the One Ring analogy is just because where you play the One Ring is so heavily controlled. Like, you cannot register a list with a ban card, right? You can show up and play Commander with a ban card. No one's ever going to know, right? Until you get to it. So trying to say, there are more people in Commander that would not know if a thing happened, whether you cannot go to an RCQ and register illegal cards, right? It's just a little different there in terms of who can know what.
Raph in chat, what are you talking about? Shitty Thing was printing new versions of these cards at a higher price just before the ban? Oh, like variants? Yeah, I got you. I thought you were talking about you had creeped out. Something it was creeping out Jewled Lotus. Okay, yeah, Food, that I completely understand it. Dom said they never needed an announcement the ban was coming. I don't think they needed that sounds dumb to me. I want to be clear. I'm not saying they needed to be like, hi everybody, this is an announcement for an announcement. We will be banning some cards. Hint, hint, it's fast mana. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm just talking about in their updates, in their regularly scheduled cadence of the rhythm that we were used to, and the philosophy that they adhered to up until Monday. They would have posted something that was like, here's 3 paragraphs on the discussions we've been having regarding fast mana, and we really think something needs to be done, and we anticipate doing something by the September BNR.
Let's say they hit one of the pieces, right? Let's say they hit one of the big guys, not Nadu, right? And they say, we're looking at other cards. What do we think that spawns a ton of confidence, or are there
this is why I encourage everybody to go watch Travis's video, because Travis had a really good take in that, where he said if the rules committee had, like, let's say they had a YouTube production team, right? And the rules committee were frequently doing interviews, and so they were able to give people, these like anecdotal or like things that they're monitoring. Hey, Wizards of the Coast has been printing a lot of stuff with Ward, and what we're noticing is that as Wizards of the Coast starts to develop new cards and new archetypes and new abilities on creatures, what we're noticing more and more is that fast mana is becoming an issue. If there were like a dialogue and like a string of videos, even if it's not an announcement, but just like insight into their thought process, then I think people that are invested, that are as absolutely ingrained as we are, that are picking apart every little thing, those people would be able to deduce from watching those videos man, rules committee keeps bringing up how fast mana is getting in the way of
True.
the design space,
Exactly.
and then they're able to come to those conclusions themselves.
Exactly.
We're still gonna run into the people that the normal people that just buy precons with their friends and maybe buy some packs. Maybe they pull these cards. Maybe they want to go out and buy this card that don't know that these discussions are happening. Like that's a lot of people. Most of the people in my playgroup do not interact with Magic.
Because it's like what we've talked about, internet Magic, right?
So, yeah.
Like the people.
But I mean,
So then
right.
to
But you
that
can see
point,
it
Food. To that point, I hear you on that. But to that point, they're willing to protect going past gameplay, which is in its own thing. But going past gameplay, they are willing to make decisions to protect that kind of collector, but not my kind of collector.
Yes, absolutely, 100%. People that are in the know are in the know. People that aren't in the know, kind of.
Well,
so you can understand how it starts feeling frustrating.
I'm not.
100%.
Oh, right. Like no one is saying that that's invalid, but their decision wasn't because they're like, we want to hurt this group, right?
Oh, I don't think they were at all. I think it's inadvertent, and that's what makes it worse.
I think it was we need to. It's like the trolley problem. Like it's like we need to maintain the health of the format for as many people as we can.
100%.
And that right, and then they trolleyed over you and Alana Danner, right?
True though. But I have a huge second point. Actually, I have two more points. I wish they would have waited until whatever in their ban that they talk about. We're working with folks at the Wizards to provide some new tools to use in pregame conversations to help folks fight light. Why didn't they just put that out first before doing any of these bans and see how it worked out? What you have a solution you're clearly working on that you didn't finish, and you decided to make this ban first. Why didn't these two things come together? Why didn't you wait? Be like, hey, we're gonna delay our ban announcement a few weeks or a few months or however long it takes to finish the system. Why is no one talking about that either? This was clearly a solution they were working on.
Oh, I am, but that gets lumped into the messaging. That gets lumped
and
into
Jim
the
has
why
said
wasn't
that we
there
should
one
have probably
message?
done that first too, right?
Exactly.
Like, and that's the thing is that they're all volunteers. PR is not their job. Clearly, they do not know how to do it, right? And they had to learn some very hard lessons while trying to do what they think is a good thing for the format that they're trying to steward, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of people in the Magic community that are good at PR that they should probably try to bring into the rules committee to be like, hey, can you just help us with this? That is clearly a thing that they should do if they're not already discussing that.
I just ended that poll. 35% of people who are watching tonight, at least who responded, got into Magic via the big pull of a cool card, and that's kind of the point. Is that it's a not insignificant portion of the community that either starts that way or eventually cares that way. Like, I'm not saying that all 35% of these responders here are still like, I gotta collect everything, and I'm pissed when they
also the people that are attracted to our content are here for a specific reason, and so we do have to take a little bit of bias into it as well.
So much.
Right.
Yeah. I just wanted to illustrate that there was a non-zero amount, and it's not even like a single-digit percentage of people for whom that was the doorway, and so to ignore that part of the game for the majority of the community to ignore that part of the game or poo-poo that part of the game, it just feels so irresponsible and not understanding of the bigger picture to me. But again, I mean, acknowledging our own biases, Jake, we talk about the angle that we talk about. We like the part that we like.
I think that they knew there was potential fallout. They just didn't know how much it was going to be, right? Because how can you actually fathom, without, with no, like, let's pull how many, like, if you were to ask me how many mana crypts people on average own, I'd say 0 to 1, not 12. Had you just asked me, right?
I think the average player probably owns 0.1 mana crypts.
Right. And turns out it's because there's still plenty of people that own a ton of these cards, and they're obviously more impacted than the bulk of the Commander players, and that sucks for them, right? I'm not trying to say or downplay any of their financial hardship, right? It stinks.
Yeah.
At the same time, if you hold 12 mana crypts, you're not selling them. You weren't like you were playing with them, And I think that's the bigger thing too, right? It's like, hey, you were using these, or you're holding them. Like, this was not an investment vehicle for you. Like, you just had game pieces that happened to be expensive, and now they don't play in the game anymore, which is an unfortunate part of how this happens, right? And I'll say this in so far as that people are like, well, why did it take 28 years to ban Mana Crypt? It's because 28 years ago, Mana Crypt wasn't a problem.
Yes. 100%.
Right? 2024 Magic, I mean, even before, it's like, oh, these cards have become a huge issue because WotC has lost the plot when it comes to power creep, and we are off the rails in terms of, you know, if you look at the stats of how many legendaries have been printed into sets, you know, it's insanity how much they're pushing into Commander, right? And so obviously, I get it. People want a Jewled Lotus, the old Nicol Bolas back out, but that's such a small subset of the players now. Lotus is pushing Pants Laser out or Turgrid or something super friggin' broken,
right?
That it's untenable, right? So I get it. Obviously, people just thought they were safe because we hadn't talked about it, and that's a huge issue, right? But we just never acted on these cards because they're like, oh, hey, like, it hasn't been 20 years. It's been fine. Should be fine now. It's like, no, like, it became a problem.
Yeah. And I have one other point here. So the Commander ban list in, I think it's the first or second paragraph, literally says that these cards are not legal without prior agreement from other players in the game. Which means if everyone in the game agrees to play with whatever cards are banned, you can totally do that.
For sure.
If you're going to go to the LGS and play with random people, that's what the ban list is for. For when you go down and sit and play a random pickup game, which you probably don't want these cards in anyways, because you're not playing CDH, typically. Now, if you're going to sit down with a bunch of CDH players and be like, hey, we want to play this specific ban list in our 5th CDH format, whatever, you guys have fun with that shit. You go for it, right?
100%.
But, like,
and I hear that.
You can still play these cards within your own play group, or if you go to the LGS and, like, talk to some people, make some friends, be like, hey, every Friday night we're going to come back and play, like, no ban Commander, or whatever it is you want to do. You can still play these cards. They can still have value to you.
They are
100%. 100%. And I've heard this argument for the last couple of days, but I want to point out, can you understand how difficult that is to hear for the collector side of this? That, you can still play with them. They're still legal if you want them to be. Okay, cool. Then why did we have to absolutely destroy the price of them by putting them on the ban list in the first place?
I think that's the chicken before the egg, right? It's like, why did WotC have to jack the shit out of them, right?
They could have been printed into the ground. They could have. There's no reason they have to be a mythic.
Yeah, but that's a different.
Special guest.
But that's a different discussion.
No, just...
I'm talking about the argument that I'm talking about. That feels completely different. I'm simply.
Does it?
Yeah,
it's the same. It's the price of the card.
Which is Wizards' bad reprint policy on these cards increase the price of the card. So when it does get banned, because it needs to be in pickup casual games, then the fallout is the price of the card.
I'm talking about the idea that it needed to go on there to protect them, but it's okay. You can still play it if you want. Why can't that be approached the other way? There's no solution where that exact logic can still be applied and we can just flip
100%.
It. There's got to be a way to do that.
I don't disagree with you in that sense. I don't disagree with, like, Zero. Even in the best of times is a messy thing because people don't know how to talk to one another, and everyone has a different criteria for what anything is, right?
That's a crazy $100 million loss because people can't talk to each other.
Also this, you know, Magic the Gathering gamers in general, not diving deep into this because I'm not a psychologist, but you know, there's a lot of neurodivergence in the MTG community, and some people are just probably not good at communication. Sure, and that's as deep as I want to go into that. But, you know, I think that's part of it. We talked about communication earlier. This is a non-super chat question that stood out. I'm a huge Jake and Joel fan. I have been for years. At what point are y'all beating a dead horse? I'm hoping to hear something novel to the discourse and not just milking the outrage. I think because it's so fresh, that's why we've covered it. But I do guarantee you that there is a moving on point from this. And it's something that Joel and I talked about earlier today.
Yeah, we've already discussed that. We completely agree. We're not intending to sit here and milk it. But for you to sit here and think that we could have just talked about Duskmorn tonight and wouldn't have been fielding a billion questions,
Yeah,
completely
it's just kind of
derailing
like,
anything we wanted to do, is very obtuse. So
Here's your new
I get
novel
what you're
idea.
saying, and we don't
The
want to
RC
milk
has
it
made
either.
these cards more accessible than ever.
All I'm saying is, if you think that we could have not sat here tonight, our choices would have been not go live or talk about this.
Yeah, because all chat.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, and thank you for your years of patronage as well. We appreciate you.
And
I
we
know
agree
it's an
with
earnest
you.
question.
I'm being direct and honest about the reason.
No,
I completely
you're
get
right.
your concern. It's our concern as well. Jake was not making shit up when he just said we've already talked about this. I texted him earlier today and I was like, all right, I think for the good of our community, we've got to put one more video out that's how we're moving on, how we're doing this going forward.
Because I'll just say this, speaking for myself and no one else, I'm in a very different place than I was Monday. Monday was like the sting of like, oh, I'm hurt. Tuesday, it's like, oh, grief and you know, processing, going through how this went down. And then today, you know, we're in an even different place. And so the conversation has changed. Like even today with JLK stepping down from you know, the commander advisory group, it's a process. And so yeah, it would have been impossible. Anybody that I saw some other streamers that were like getting on and doing like Magic stuff, and they're just doing gameplay, and their chat is just filled with people being like, hey, talk about the bans. So it's just, you know, we're in the moment, we're in the now. And yes, we will have to move on from it, because I said you're either quitting the game, you're moving on, or you're quitting your job and everything you're doing, and you're picketing, you're moving over to Hasbro, and you're standing outside with a sign, and you're saying, I'm not happy, I need to be heard. And you need to like get a whole group of people to go do that with you. And so the internet's attention deficit disorder, it will move on from it. People will forget, and or they won't forget, but they will move on. That
100%.
ultimately will
And
happen.
we're going to as well.
So let's.
Bob with $10 here says, I was hesitant to sell any Lotus or Crypt because even after reprints, they were going up in value. They both went up in value after being reprinted about a year ago. No one expected a ban. Yeah, precisely. When you're getting cards in very recent Magic sets, in very popular variants and stuff, you don't expect a ban. That's why a lot of people are really feeling the sting on this one, including myself.
No, we're not outing previous chats, Hometown TCG. I wanted to see what some of our top contributors were adding to the conversation tonight. I've seen some, you know,
so let's
really
ask
like
that.
passionate fans that feel like they got to repeat that message to get it across to us. And so I just wanted to double check exactly what was contributed so that I knew exactly how smart some of these guys were.
So, are either of you guys going to quit Commander based on this?
Nope.
No.
I'm gonna play more Commander.
From a game,
are you
from a
quitting Commander?
gameplay stance, I think that these were good bans. Why would I quit?
No, I won't. I will not be quitting the game. What I will do is it's very much like a fool me once kind of thing.
Same.
And if it is the kind of thing where in 6 months we get a laundry list of shit that's getting banned, yes, I will.
Sure.
I will probably stop consuming Magic the Gathering cards. And I will say this about this. This does make me want to pare some stuff down. This is not
I was
the
going to
kind
say
of thing
my next question was, because that was my gameplay question. Now my question is, from a collection standpoint, do you have a new outlook on how you're going to be coming at collecting?
It's reinforced for me that if you are investing in this, which nothing on this channel is financial advice. I had to get one of those in, right?
Ayo.
Nothing on this channel is financial advice. If I am investing, what am I doing, guys? What do you think I'm doing?
Reserve list.
Buying reserve
list.
I'm buying reserve
But
list
you're not, because you're not going to collect.
No, yeah, same. I mean, I'm still
Right.
going to go after the cards that I want. That's what I would have done anyway. Like I said, I didn't own a position in any
Old shit is old.
really any of this, you know, to really move the needle on my collection. And so I'm still going to get the cards I want to play. I love the card, but I didn't play Jewled Lotus in a single deck. Not a single one.
Not a single one.
So
Crazy.
and so for me, it's not going to change anything. If anything, I'm just going to continue more of where I've been adjusting this year with lots of discussions with Jake. Is, you know, 3 weeks ago I chunked off $3,000 in my collection and went, I'm going to turn this, enormous stack of cards into 10 duels.
It's honestly impressive, and this isn't like a call out or anything, how vast of and far-reaching this ban was, and how very little it changes anything we're doing.
Right. That is one of the core foundational problems that I have is, that's what I've said is like, why if it didn't matter, if it only,
it's like a stock split. It's like a stock split.
It's just right. Exactly. It feels like much ado about nothing, except you have really crushed a lot of stuff for a strange no reason. I want to address this. Sussy Gamer said you have vetted interests as content creators, and that needs to be addressed. You're 100% right. This is our job.
This has been the best.
This is our job, and we will continue past that. What we won't do is muddy our messaging. We're always going to act and advise in the way that we think is best. And so while we do have vetted interests as content creators for the overall game to continue existing so that we can cover it, that in my opinion is never going to go away. And so that part is not really a concern. It's more about being honest with y'all and transparent with y'all, and that's really up to you as individuals to decide whether you think
you guys aren't covering the game
or not.
You guys aren't covering Magic because you were like, this is the correct content creator niche to make the most money.
Right.
This is the game you love playing.
Yeah.
And then I so happen to cover it.
Yeah.
Right.
And we're not getting paid by WotC consistently, or obviously the RC. Our sponsors. I
don't make any money. All I do is lose money on Magic constantly.
y'all that are watching, and our sponsors that are like, Card Conduit's a buy lister, and TCG Player's a giant store, and it's all like different angles of approach to the game. We made sure when we got into those relationships that we weren't going to be held to some standard that would make us want to say or not say anything if we think it needs to be said. So that's kind of my way long answer, Sussy, on yes, I agree with you, and here's what we're kind of doing to try and
like the best we can do is be transparent about it, right? Because obviously there's
this is still our job.
Infinity Bros, we see you. Appreciate your content as well. Says as content creators, this is something that must be covered. That's for sure. When you have something like this that is honestly like a layup softball toss, it's like you cover it. It's so different than Magic the Gathering 30th Anniversary Edition because that undermines the game, or that undermines collectors, and it undermines like a lot of different things. 30th
it was a
Anniversary
slap to
Edition
everyone, right? Because even gameplay, they were like, we can't even play this because it was so expensive.
How unified was the community during that versus this? This is very divisive. That was like 99.99% of people fucking hated it.
Right. And that's why I feel like that anyone that is like, oh, it's this or else is so lost the plot, because if you just step outside yourself, this is so divisive. People like this, people don't like this.
I like aspects of it, and I hate aspects of it.
Right. Be able to do the thing. Don't be an NPC. Be able to understand that other people exist in this friggin' world.
Correct.
And may have a different opinion than you. That's okay.
Food Time, we appreciate you jumping on, dude.
For sure.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, and thank you for your hard work in the room, in the chat
man.
tonight.
Thank you for being out there in the trenches tonight. This was a different one.
Anytime.
Everyone was 99% agreed on Nadu being banned. Yeah, Buzz.
Yeah.
Most people haven't even mentioned Nadu in their coverage of this.
He's gonna be Magic 40th comes out. They're gonna add Nadu to stuff just as a nice cuss.
Yeah, bros, and bros, that's a really good. Infinity Bros said, "I'm with y'all, though I'm ready to move on." That is kind of the next step. Jake and I need to fully sort of put our final thoughts together as to where we want to leave this, but I do think that it's time for that and important. I don't think that they're going to walk this back. I don't think you want to talk about hope. I guess we can talk about hope for a second before we call this. The CEDH group forming a full-on true
Yeah,
rules committee
let's
and
talk about that.
making a format that exists. I'm hopeful for that. That could potentially see your Jeweled Lotuses and your Mana Crypts
I would
go
like.
back up.
I want to see them succeed. I
Same.
think it's going to take.
Regardless of what it does to the markets, I want to see them succeed. I should have said that. I did seem really greedy on that one.
No.
But,
I think
again,
it was
I don't have a
evident in your
position
tone.
here, so it is what it is.
Right.
Like, I think Dockside should stay banned, but if those two cards were to get unbanned in CDH, I think that would be pretty sweet.
I have the CDH ban list can be whatever it needs to be in order to maintain a healthy competitive format. If that means
CEDH will
keeping
never be
Dockside
sanctioned through JAJAM. Good. Hopefully not.
cool, right?
Right.
The current
Thor. Exactly.
the current
about
bans
M30.
do things to certain, like the Adnos decks get a little worse. Blue Farm probably is fine. Roxy is still going to be an abomination on turn 1, and is now not challenged, so that may be an issue with this. But we have a lot more meta changing with the current ban list that people are going to have to brew around, and that's super fun to do. So from that aspect, that's a ton of fun. But yeah, however they decide to manage the ban list, as long as it promotes a healthy competitive format, I think that's the best way to think about that.
Yeah.
Because
Yep.
wish them the best.
Food time, Spec. We're gonna say thank you and good night to you too. Jake and I need to do our little sponsor segment, and we'll knock that out with y'all here. Without y'all here, chat. Everybody, big high fives and claps. Spec, you want to pump what you got?
Yeah, go sub to MTG Metrics and I'll tell you about secret layers and which ones to get or not, or maybe it's not financial advice, none of it is. But I'll tell you what arts are neat.
Spectre, thank you for hanging out
Food
tonight.
time, can you
Thank
drop
for
that link
spending your
again?
time with us.
Food time, you got anything to pump?
No, don't follow me anywhere. I don't post any real content. I'm just shit posting everywhere. It's great.
It's true. He follows like one guy and just roasts him constantly.
I don't get me started. No.
Oh yeah, dude, I saw that.
Anyways,
The only reason that guy
hit
has
like on
popped
the
up
stream.
on my timeline is because of you harassing him. Well, good harassing,
chat,
right?
Chat, before chat drops off completely, I want to get to 469 likes. We've got 677 people watching.
Come on.
We want 469, 100 more. Can
Everybody
we do it?
just drop us a sub and hit that like button. You know the YouTube stuff.
Duskborn slaps.
Yeah.
Oh,
great.
it's
That's
those two right
It is
now. If
really
I
fun.
go,
Can we
hey,
talk?
It is really fun.
everybody subscribe. Let me know
Yeah,
if if
you
that
enjoyed
button
this stream,
pops. I
come
think
back
the
in the
button pops.
future.
Can we talk about that for 30 seconds? We did a two-headed giant Dustborn thing at
Oh
pre-release.
yeah, me and
it was tough fun.
Spec went 2-1. I put Grievous Wound on our opponents at the end.
Yeah.
Nice.
And Spec
It was
had a
super
bunch of
funny.
like 1 and 2 power things, and the opponents were just like, I mean, if one gets through, it was like that orc in Two Towers getting the torch to the
just
wall.
running with.
We only
Yeah.
needed one thing to get in and tap them, and oh man, Grievous Wound
all
did
the
work.
all the black was super overpowered. We won both of our games with black, and then we got dumpstered by it.
Yeah, that's what happened. So
Good.
we-
Black is good, yeah.
well, and
Black
there's
is
that
pretty
card that's like, if you got Delirium, you can choose all 3 modes, but you can choose one for 4 mana. It's like each opponent discards 2. All
So
creatures
we
get
discarded-
-1/-1.
So they board wiped, and then they knocked 4 cards out of our hand, and we're like, well,
Yeah.
that's that game.
GG.
He had
Yeah.
multiple, and with one he board wiped, and with one he 4-for-1 dust. It was brutal.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a really fun time. I liked the Dustmorn
Yeah.
limited environment, the very little that I've played it, but I plan to kind of like dive more into it on Arena next week.
More
'cause I'm excited to
fun than
play
I
it.
thought it was going to be. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Spec, Food, thank y'all for being here. We appreciate y'all.
Thank you for having us.
We appreciate you guys. Thank you so much.
Chat. Oh, let me do this. There we go. Chatsky. Y'all. We appreciate everybody being here tonight. Like we said, want to pump our sponsors here right at the end. A little bit of a different stream for us. But absolutely got to mention who helps us keep the lights on. Got to start with Card Conduit. Yep. Card Conduit.
Is a great spot for selling your cards. Recently, they have started accepting 50-cent cards. So sell them your cards at 50 cents or more. It is a buy list website, so they're there to exist to save you time. We have been with Card Conduit now for a while, man, and we regularly have talks with the leadership over there, and it's a really good ship that they got going on. And yeah, if you're trying to get rid of cards, if you're trying to sell stuff, I know that now is the time to sell stuff for some people, and if you are, consider using them. We also have a link that's going to save you on your fees. So Card Conduit, depending on the amount of work you do, you can get your entire thing to where you're only going to have to pay fees. Essentially, it's like depending on how much sorting you want to do, if you want to put everything in order, or you can just send them everything unorganized and they take a bigger cut. But Card Conduit is a great tool and a great resource for Magic the Gathering players as a really good buy list that uses the best buy list prices across the interwebs.
Let me tell you about Drip Shop, our online store, and a place where you can buy, bid on, play games for MTG cards, all TCG cards, sports cards. We got a link down in the description. If you sign up right now, you can get up to $250 in free credit to use on the website. And they actually have a promotion going right now where if you then invite someone and tell them to use your link, they can get up to $250 through you, and you will get up to $250 again after they've done what they need to do. There's a lot of details, but they got some cool referral programs that they've just in the last couple of weeks added. Obviously, we're over there once a month live, giving away packs, auctioning off cards, playing some games, having a good time. Use our link down in the description. Go sign up for Drip if you haven't. See how much credit you get. It's a random thing. You get between like $15 and like $250. I think the record that I've seen is like 60 or 70 something. But you can just go over there and buy booster packs with that cash, with that free credit that they'll give you when you sign up through our link. Go do it. It helps us out. It helps us just to sign up. You're never going to be there.
And
go sign
also,
up.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And then also TCG player, you can use our affiliate link if you are buying singles over on TCG. It does nothing. It costs you nothing extra. And all it does is help out the channel. Wide marketplace. I'm sure many of you have heard of TCG player. And if you are making any of your MTG purchases, certainly don't buy the banned cards, or do, you do you. But if you are picking up MTG singles for your latest decks, it does help out the channel a lot if you use our affiliate link. Then also a special shout out to Dragon Shield for their sleeves and so many other products they put out. MTG stocks for tracking the long-term price of your cards. And of course, Moxfield. Moxfield for organizing your decks and all of their search parameters. They are a really good resource as well.
Chat, we appreciate everybody being here tonight. Everybody's takes, everybody who was civil, really appreciated. Obviously, we have opinions. Obviously, we're just still crying over this, and we're going to cry ourselves to sleep every night for the rest of time. But really wanted to try and get as much representation of dissension and, for and against, blah, 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 the whole 9 yards. So we hope you enjoyed it. We're pretty much done with this subject. We'll probably make one more video that like buttons everything up and says this is us moving on. But at this point, it's dumb to dwell, waste of time to dwell on it. It is what it is, and we hope for the future, right? That's really all we can do. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, don't forget it, but don't dwell on it. Big thank you to everybody. There were a ton of super chats this evening. Thanks, and we really do appreciate all of you so much for that support. I know a lot of you wanted to get your thoughts out there, and we do appreciate the patience on those. We tried to get to everybody. I know that we probably missed some really good takes in chat,
yeah,
and so we
guys,
appreciate the people in chat that were able to have conversations with each other and that kind of thing. We'd love to get to all of it, but tonight we had like more than 1,000 people watching, and so to everybody out there, all of our moderators, we know that you were working around the clock, food time. Seriously. Brodyham, Spectre's in there now, but all of our friends, Dom, Travis was on tonight. We had a lot of folks that came and joined. Lots of creators out there in chat as well. Infinity Bros I see out there. Hometown TCG. And just so many others. Yeah, we really Count do Krista, appreciate all of you so much.
Jason, thank you so much. Really appreciate y'all.
For now,
Sussy, we appreciate you.
Thank you for spending your time with us. Chat at you more
in Discord. We'll see you there. We'd love to talk to you in Discord more about it, as long as you're being civil. We love civil people, even if they disagree with us. Even if they hate that I like to collect cool, really expensive cards. It is what it is. Love y'all. Good night. Bye-bye.
We'll see you later. Have a good